Chapter 151. Zhuoxiaonian recalled. So, the breakthrough will happen on the day of the Phoenix Pulse? The old principal once said. Even if I accumulate more power beyond the inner core realm, it will be difficult for me to break through the bottleneck. Because no matter how much power I accumulate, it will never surpass the accumulation of the Phoenix bloodline over the past 40,000 years. So I'm afraid the breakthrough date can't be changed. Mu Yanyan finally couldn't maintain the indifference on her face. She said in surprise, is there such a thing? Yes, it's the Qi Pulse. The old principal He Yuanyue said that the day of my breakthrough is the day of the Phoenix Pulse. At the same time, it's also the moment of eternal death that Xiao Duo mentioned just now, Zhuoxiaonian said. Then why didn't you say so earlier? I just found out a few days ago, and there have been too many things happening these few days. Zhuoxiaonian knew that she was in the wrong. She lowered her head and didn't dare to say anything more. If that's the case, things will turn for the better. Zhuoxiaoduo's expression suddenly brightened. He was even in high spirits. I think I really understand. Originally, I only judged the situation based on the divination and foresight. I didn't think too much. After the old principal's guidance, I more or less understood the aura viewing technique. However, I didn't use it on Sister Nian, nor did I connect it with the mountains and rivers. Not bad, not bad. No wonder I've been watching Sister Nian's fate. It seems to be closely related to this city, so there's this layer of origin. Now that I think about it, everything makes sense. My big sister Nian Nian is one of the top few geniuses in the entire Yanwu Empire. Yet she has never taken a single step out of Phoenix City. Indeed, there's another reason for her to stay. Xiaoduo was exultant. Now that I understand the root cause, I'm suddenly enlightened. It's the power of the Phoenix bloodline that has been faintly restraining you and restricting you. After Xiaoduo said this, Zhuoxiaonian and Mu Yanyan also understood at once. For so many years, there have been so many super sects and hermit sects who want to take Zhuoxiaonian away. However, Zhuoxiaonian has always been reluctant. How persistent can a little girl be? Wouldn't he just pick her up and leave? When they arrived at the sect, they would at most cry for a few days. In the end, wouldn't they have to accept it even if they didn't want to? How difficult could it be? But things weren't that simple. One sect had come, but before he could convince Zhuoxiaonian, another even more powerful sect had come. The first one couldn't compete with the second one, so he retreated. After that, he continued to work hard, and then he encountered a different sect. The same thing happened again and again, and the cycle repeated itself. When Mu Yanyan arrived, with the powerful strength of the Kunlun Taoism, He Yuanyue's face, and the price left by Mu Yanyan, they were able to accept Zhuoxiaonian as a disciple. Others only thought that it was natural for everyone to compete for a genius, but in fact, the twists and turns of this matter made Mu Yanyan feel incredible when she thought about it now. Now, after listening to Zhuoxiaonian's description of the restriction of the phoenix vein, Mu Yanyan immediately solved the doubts in her heart. But then she became more worried. She said, since Nian Er's death involves the phoenix vein soul, and the moment of eternal death can't be changed, then the danger of Nian Er's death will be many times greater. No, I have to talk to Headmaster He and see if there is still room for negotiation. Zhuoxiaoduo's mood at this moment became relaxed. He said in a deep voice, now that we have a direction and the root of the problem, it will be much easier to do later. I'm afraid that there is no way to deal with it. What I see is fate, while the phoenix vein is luck. In other words, what I see is fate and luck, while the phoenix vein is luck and fate itself. It has accumulated the general trend of fate for 40,000 years. In front of Xiaoduo, a road suddenly appeared. Finally, he connected everything together. For a moment, he was in an unprecedentedly good mood. Originally, he only saw the result. Now, after gathering all the information of Zhuoxiaonian, Mu Yanyan, He Yuanyue, and Xiaoduo, he finally saw the tip of the iceberg of the truth. But this tip was enough for Xiaoduo, because the direction to solve the problem was finally found. No, I have to see Headmaster He as soon as possible. A trace of anxiety flashed across Mu Yanyan's beautiful face, and a trace of determination. Before this, she had never thought that the breakthrough of the origin core realm would have such a big impact. Now that she suddenly knew, she really couldn't sit still for a moment. Headmaster He asked me to meet him at the Phoenix Pavilion tonight. He also asked me to bring Xiaoduo. Why don't we go together and discuss what to do? I think headmaster he should also have a headache about this. Okay. Mu Yanyan agreed. At this moment, outside the window there was a sudden clap of thunder in the sky. The heavy rain fell with a crash. Zhuo Xiaoyan looked at the time. It was 9:50 p.m. 2.5 hours left. A heavy downpour hit the Phoenix Pavilion. This heavy rain was very heavy. The good drainage system of the city couldn't drain the water in time, causing the water to be tens of centimeters high on the street. This rain was as if the heavens were pouring water down directly. At midnight, the rain stopped and the clouds dispersed. The three of them set off on time and directly flew out of the window. At a glance, they saw a cushion made of an unknown material drifting like a small boat in the turbulent water on the street. On the cushion was a kitten. Riding on the cushion, its two ears flapped and turned back and forth uneasily on the cushion. It looked up to the sky and shouted meow. The water was rumbling, carrying the cushion downstream. Zhuo Xiaoyan's heart moved. With a wave of her hand, the kitten had already come down from the cushion and was sent to a safe area on the side of the road. Although the kitten was safe, it shook its head with a confused look on its face. Why did it suddenly fly on the clouds just now? Phoenix Pavilion turned back. The trees in the mountains that blocked the view had been cleared by Sister Lan, and the view was unprecedentedly open. A big stone like the head of a phoenix stood tall, and at the top of the big stone there was a wheelchair. He Yuanyue's white hair was fluttering in the wind. With an indifferent expression, she stared at the thousands of lights in the city. In the sky, large patches of dark clouds were rapidly dispersing, and the stars were showing little by little. After a while, a bright full moon appeared in the sky. The moon was full and bright, and it shone everywhere. In the eyes of Zhuo Xiaoyan and others, who came from afar, He Yuanyue's skinny figure seemed to be embedded in the full moon and integrated with the full moon. Hanging high in the sky, she quietly looked at the earth, looked at the mountains, and looked at the mortal world. This transcendent atmosphere made Mu Yanyan and Zhuo Xiaoyan instinctively stop and look at the old woman who seemed to be integrated with the full moon with awe. It was this kind of character, this kind of loftiness, the real heart of the world, the real heart of all living things, the real boundless love, and the blessing of all living things. Even Mu Yanyan, who was obviously much older than He Yuanyue, couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence from the bottom of her heart when she saw this scene at the moment. The full moon hung high in the sky. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. In the sky it was blue. There wasn't even a trace of cloud. Come up. He Yuanyue was beckoning. Mu Yanyan took Zhuo Xiaoyan and Zhuo Xiaoduo and flew through the air. Her sleeves fluttered in the wind like a fairy. She slowly landed beside He Yuanyue. He Yuanyue's skinny face suddenly bloomed with a smile. The night of the full moon, the peak of Phoenix return. The dragon sword and the phoenix danced. Not bad at all. I really didn't expect to complete two things at once today. It's really the will of the heavens. Sister Lan, dressed in black, stood beside her as usual, quietly gazing down the mountain. At this moment it was already midnight, and all the lights in Phoenix City had been extinguished, but she understood the meaning behind He Yuanyue's words. Being able to see Zhuo Xiaoduo was naturally the main theme of the night, and seeing Mu Yanyan at the same time was an additional surprise. After all, these two people came together in such a delicate atmosphere. It was really rare, so naturally it was a surprise. Just when He Yuanyue, Zhuo Xiaoduo, and Mu Yanyan met, He Yuanyue suddenly frowned slightly, raised her head slightly, and looked at the southern sky. At the top of the southern sky, there seemed to be 3 stars in the shape of a triangle that lit up slightly. Is it an illusion? When He Yuanyue looked again, she couldn't see anything. The 3 people all saw He Yuanyue's abnormal behavior at the moment, and naturally wondered, and they all looked back. Mu Yanyan and Zhuo Xiaoyan didn't see anything. Only the jade pendant that Zhuo Xiaoduo had integrated into his body, at this moment, slightly heated up and flickered, but this change was enough for Zhuo Xiaoduo to feel. That was an inexplicable aura, falling from the heavens and gathering here? He Yuanyue continued to survey the entire Phoenix City in a trance. Even though it was the middle of the night and there weren't many lights left, the bright moonlight allowed her to see far, far away with a single glance. Under the hazy moonlight, clear splendor spread over thousands of miles, spreading over the world. Come and see. He Yuanyue smiled, stretched out her right hand, and pointed to the south. Tonight is the 15th of June. After a heavy rain, all the dust has been washed away. The blue sky is clean, heaven and earth meet, and yin and yang feel. Tonight, at this moment, is the time for the dragon to rise. After the heavy rain, if there is a dragon vein, there will be a green dragon rising, riding the wind to the 9 heavens. I came here tonight to take advantage of the heavens to see the rise and fall of the green dragon, moving among the clouds. He Yuanyue smiled. My original intention of calling Xiao Duo here was to guide him in the aspect of the aura examination technique, and to deepen his understanding. I didn't expect Teacher Mu to come with me. This can be considered a coincidence. Rise of the green dragon? That's right. He Yuanyue said. As the saying goes, Lo Nin does not grow, Lo Nyang does not grow. Where there is a phoenix vein, there will be a dragon vein. It's just that the dragon vein in Phoenix City is too well hidden, and I can't do anything about it. But tonight, I'm at the time when the green dragon rises to the heavens. Even if there are people who want to hide it, there will always be clues. Where does this dragon rise to the heavens? Where does it come from, and where does it end? Does this Phoenix City have a dragon vein? Zhe. Chapter 152. Mu Yanyan pondered and asked slowly, what if there are still no signs, or there is no dragon vein in Phoenix City at all? He Yuanyue's eyes were deep. If there is no dragon vein, then we will lose this battle. The Phoenix Pulse Spirit is also a dead end. Then take your spiritual sense with you and run away immediately. Even if the whole Phoenix City turns into ashes, you are not allowed to come back. Little Nian, if you really do this, you will not be able to return to Phoenix City for the rest of your life. Why is that? Swishaonian asked. If the dragon vein does not exist, or if it has been used by the enemy, Phoenix City will be your death ground. Especially after the Phoenix Pulse Spirit, this will be your death ground. No matter when you appear in Phoenix City, you will die immediately. Mu Yanyan Zwishaonian and Zwishaoduo's faces suddenly changed and became very ugly. Zwishaonian said firmly, even if there is no dragon vein, I will not leave. I swear to live and die with my family. He Yuanyue's eyes flashed, and she glanced at Mu Yanyan imperceptibly. Mu Yanyan nodded slightly. The rain has just fallen, and the sky is clear. In terms of timing, the Azure Dragon is still in the breeding stage, and there is still some time before it rises. He Yuanyue waved, Swishaoduo, come here. Swishaoduo stood beside Mu Yanyan's wheelchair, blocking the cold wind for her with his body. Don't stand there and don't block my wind. He Yuanyue frowned and said, stand here, facing the wind, and look carefully. Look. Look at what? Look at the thousands of miles of mountains and rivers in front of you. At this moment, the position you are standing at is the highest point. Use your eyes and your heart to look. He Yuanyue said softly, use the position you are standing at as your eyes and look down. The panoramic view of Phoenix City is in front of you. I want to know, from your point of view, what can you see? Swishaoduo was at a loss, but he followed her words. Zwishaonian and Mu Yanyan could not help but look in the same direction, but they felt that they could not see anything strange. Swishaoduo did not dare to neglect. He took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. After a while, he quietly opened his eyes and looked forward. He unconsciously gathered power in his eyes, and everything in the world seemed to be clearer and brighter in his eyes at this moment. After the heavy rain, the mountain was full of the sound of snakes and rats and other animals crawling. Apart from that, the world was completely silent. Even the meteor shower, the rain, the rain. As the rainwater seeped into the ground, the scorching heat of the ground evaporated, and endless amounts of water vapor slowly rose from the ground. Looking from afar, it looked like plumes of smoke that shot straight into the sky. It was the same everywhere in an area of a few thousand kilometers, and the scene was magnificent to the extreme. Swishaoduo came to a realization. This should be the time He Yuanyue mentioned. He Yuanyue's voice, with a strange melody, slowly sounded in his ears. The cycle of heaven has a beginning and an end. Water rises and falls. The more water vapor that falls to the ground, the more rain that returns to the sky. Xiaoduo, what do you see? Zwishaoduo focused and looked forward seriously. His expression was unprecedentedly serious. I see. Everywhere there is mist rising. The mountain below, the mountains to the left and right are all rapidly rising. Over at Phoenix City, it is also rising. Yes, is there anything else? Just like the celestial mountains, the mist is constantly growing. Nothing is left out. There were 2 places where no water vapor rose from the beginning to the end. What's going on? There are 2 places? Yuanyue opened her eyes in surprise. 2? Yes, 2. Those 2 places are very far away from here. But from here, it seems to be the center of Phoenix City. It is the most prosperous area. Zuoxiaoduo was surprised. In the most prosperous area, the roadside buildings were almost all hardened. In such weather it should be hotter and there should be more water vapor. How could there be no water vapor rising? How far do you see these 2 places? Yuanyue closed her eyes and asked softly. She did not have any cultivation. What Zuoxiaoduo could see, she could not. Zuoxiaoduo heard her and closed his eyes. He used his mind's eye to measure and observe. The distance is about half a foot, Zuoxiaoduo said uncertainly. From the distance of half a foot in your eyes to the actual terrain. 2 places. 2 places. Yuanyue suddenly thought of something, and her spirit suddenly became excited. This sudden excitement made her spirit all of a sudden, and even her old face suddenly became flushed. Sister Lan. Here. Xiaoduo, keep watching. Don't stop. Sister Lan, take little duo and fly over from a high altitude. You have to be fast and remember to conceal yourself at the same time. See what these 2 places are. Go to the sky above the center of Phoenix City as fast as you can. Make sure Zuoxiaoduo's eyes are locked on those 2 special places. Then come back as fast as you can. Be careful not to expose yourself. Be sure to see clearly. Okay. Zuoxiaoduo maintained his mind's eye state and did not move. Sister Lan grabbed his belt with one hand and her body quietly floated as she floated away. Old principal, what are you doing? Mu Yinyan asked, puzzled. Yuanyue gently raised her hand and stopped her from asking. There was a cold light in her eyes. Don't be impatient. Wait for them to come back. She breathed a sigh of relief and said, this matter may become the key to reversing our disadvantage. Mu Yinyan didn't understand what she was talking about at this time. She only felt confused and mysterious. Yuanyue murmured, this is really a coincidence. How did I not think that Zuoxiaoduo would be able to see more than me, and be able to distinguish where there is no water vapor? This is really the mercy of the heavens. I should have thought of this earlier. The physique of a martial artist is not something an old man like me can compare to. Then she sighed again and said, but even if I thought of it, there are not so many people I can trust. Phew. She took a long breath and didn't speak anymore. She just looked at the distant sky with longing in her eyes. Sister Lan moved very fast. After a while she flew back with Zuoxiaoduo. This time Zuoxiaoduo was directly in the vacuum air cover. He wasn't even blown by the wind. It was close to being unaffected. It was naturally easy for her to lock onto the target. Did you see it? Can you confirm it? I saw it. I've confirmed the location. These 2 places, where are they? Yuanyue's breathing was a little heavy at this moment, and she asked anxiously. One is the headquarters of Ming's group. Zuoxiaoduo said the other is the ancestral grave of the Ning family. Ming's group? Ning family's ancestral grave? Yuanyue was stunned when she heard these 2 places. Suddenly there was even a feeling of suffocation. Then, Yuanyue suddenly coughed violently. She coughed so hard that she almost coughed out her heart, lungs and intestines. Her face was red and faintly purple, but her eyes showed a kind of angry and frightening brilliance. Sister Lan and Mu Yinyan, the 2 masters, worked together to calm Yuanyue down, but they couldn't calm her down for a long time. 40,000 years of accumulation, painstaking efforts, millions of people's lives, the fate of the entire continent. The survival of the Astral Souls Umno Alliance is a matter of life and death. Because of selfishness, it's in danger. Yuanyue let out a shrill cry, and cursed angrily, shameless. He was insane. Shameless. He was insane. Shameless. You're insane. She gasped for breath, her face flushed red, her eyes bloodshot, and her body trembled in anger. I thought that my decades of hard work were going against the heavens, but in the end it was all in vain. But I never thought that I would be stabbed in the back by those who thought they were on my side. I see. He Yuanyue looked up to the sky and shouted, "Damn it!" Mu Yinyan and the others didn't understand what He Yuanyue was angry about, and they were all confused. Even Zuo Duo was full of doubts at this moment, and it was difficult to understand. After a long time, Yuanyue's breathing finally calmed down, but she first let out a long sigh. Her entire person looked a little older. She didn't have much energy left, and she seemed to have lost most of it. What happened just now? Mu Yinyan asked. He Yuanyue ignored her, and raised her head tremblingly. "Shout Duo, come, you still stand in the same position as before. Look at the Phoenix Turnback Mountain under your feet, the mountains on your left and right, and the Phoenix City and even further away. Look at it with your heart and see what it looks like." Zuo Duo looked at it seriously, and quickly outlined a relatively complete image in his mind. As this image was outlined, Zuo Duo was shocked by his own visualization, and said with some uncertainty, "This, viewed as a whole, it looks like a big bird." "Yes, a big bird." He Yuanyue said with relief, "Remember, the mountain under our feet is called the Phoenix Turnback Mountain, and the stone we are standing on now is a complete big stone, weighing tens of millions of tons. I call it the Phoenix Head. Sister Lan, please take Xiao Duo to the sky again to see the whole picture." "Okay." After a while, Zuo Duo looked thoughtful after seeing what he saw. He Yuanyue asked expectantly, "What did you see this time?" "I saw a big bird." Zuo Duo said honestly, "I don't know if it's because of the factor of preconceived notions, especially when looking at it from the sky, the impression is more vivid." "Anything else?" He Yuanyue asked. "Looking for monthly votes, subscription and recommendation tickets." He was too tired to type, so he went to rest. Chapter 153. Also, Zuo Duo was a little uncertain, but he still told her the ridiculous idea in his heart. "The big bird I saw spread its wings and was about to fly. The mountains on both sides were like flapping wings." He Yuanyue said seriously, "Then tell me, can this big bird fly?" Zuo Duo said honestly, "It can't fly." "Why?" "The entire Phoenix City is the body of this big bird. It's close to the ground. Based on the momentum of the big bird, it can't be moved at all. Combine it with your previous discovery. It's the water vapor that soars into the sky." He Yuanyue guided him patiently. "I've already thought of this, but even if the water vapor is added to the big bird's momentum, it's still not complete. Is it because of those 2 points?" This time, Zuo Duo thought for a long time and said, "I'm not sure, but it does look like." He Yuanyue exhaled twice and said, "If that's the case, let me put it in another way. This big bird wanted to spread its wings and soar into the sky. Its wings were ready to soar into the sky. Its tail was also ready to soar into the sky. However, it seemed that someone on the ground had used 2 hands to firmly hold the 2 legs of the big bird. This big bird was firmly fixed to the ground. So this big bird, no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't fly?" He Yuanyue had made it very clear. Zuo Duo's eyes flashed with understanding. "That's right, it does feel that way. When the water vapor soared into the sky, the big bird had a chance to fly, but think about it again. The 2 places you went just now, don't they look like the place where the big bird's feet were caught?" He Yuanyue's voice was getting more and more urgent. "From a geographical point of view, it should be those 2 places, but I can't be sure." Zuo Duo finally nodded. He Yuanyue let out a long sigh of relief. "So the root cause of the decline of the Phoenix Pulse spirit is actually here." He Yuanyue closed her eyes and breathed tiredly. "I've been wondering for decades, how could the big bird not fly with the accumulation of 43,000 years of earth veins?" I see. He Yuanyue muttered to herself. She was filled with disappointment and sadness as she muttered to herself, "The human heart is so terrifying. I'd rather imprison and kill the phoenix, just to drink a mouthful of insignificant phoenix blood. I'd rather not let the phoenix soar into the sky and soar through the 9 heavens." He Yuanyue smiled miserably and said softly, "The phoenix soars and cries, the 9 heavens congratulates. The true dragon echoes, the dragon and the phoenix bring prosperity. The mountains and rivers of the universe, the seas and the rivers are clear. This is supposed to be an ancient trend that follows the will of the heavens and the people. Yet now, the phoenix wails yet doesn't rise. The dragon hides yet is unable to emerge. And all of this is actually caused by the selfish desires of man. He Yuanyue's eyes were filled with boundless hatred as she looked ahead. Thinking of the two places she couldn't see, she felt as if she was weeping blood. Such a person should be an animal for all eternity, and his entire family should be exterminated. He would be a beast for all eternity, and his 9 generations would be exterminated. Mu Yinyan was terrified. To be able to make He Yuanyue, who was like a Buddha, utter such a heavy curse, it seemed that this matter was serious to a certain extent. Old principal, what's going on? Can you explain it to us? Mu Yinyan asked cautiously. Teacher Mu, please wait a moment. After I finish watching tonight's weather, I'll explain it to you in detail. He Yuanyue's eyes almost didn't blink as she looked at the dark phoenix city under her feet. The entire city boundary. Her eyes were filled with eagerness and expectation. Time passed by little by little. The full moon had already deviated from the overhead. And He Yuanyue's expression became more and more anxious. Why hasn't it come out yet? Where's the azure dragon? Are you going to watch your partner endure imprisonment and die in humiliation? Where's the dragon? Time went back a few hours. In the pouring rain, Qin Fengyang swept through the forest. His sword light was like lightning, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. This forest had completely turned into a battlefield. Today I've really seen the power of money, it's not empty words. Qin Fengyang didn't know how many times he had sighed in his heart. He originally thought that things wouldn't be that difficult to deal with. How much power could a local tycoon mobilize? With his tyrannical strength at the nascent soul level, few people in the entire Phoenix City could do anything to him. But the reality was obviously beyond his expectations. The local tycoon, Shin Yushu, had mobilized an extraordinarily strong force. Ever since he sent Wuxiaoduo home, Qin Fengyang had been constantly attacked. Just when he was having a meal in a small restaurant, he was attacked 3 times. Poison, sneak attack, strong attack. The 3 consecutive attacks made Qin Fengyang feel even more incredulous. After that, as Qin Fengyang left the city, the attacks continued. When Qin Fengyang climbed up the Phoenix Tail Mountain, the number of people under his sword had already exceeded 100. And as the number of people who died under his sword increased, the combat power of the people dispatched by the other party also increased. After a night of fierce fighting, 7 or 8 experts at the peak of the Origin Core Realm had already died under Qin Fengyang's sword. Peak of the Origin Core Realm, martial arts master. Each of them was no weaker than Zhuo Xiaonian, but they had all died in this battle. Qin Fengyang was surprised. He grabbed a few of them and interrogated them. Kill Qin Fengyang. In the dark channels of Phoenix City, a new reward for killing Qin Fengyang instantly caused a huge commotion. 1 billion Astral Souls coins, 10 Astral Souls flame pills, 10,000 pieces of high-grade Astral Souls jade, an ancient book that can allow one to cultivate to the cloud transformation realm, and the reward for Qin Fengyang's head. 1 person kills, 1 person gets the reward. The reward will be split equally if more people kill him. If you die in the mission, regardless of whether you succeed in the end, you will get another 100,000 as a settlement fee. Such a huge reward not only in Phoenix City, but even in the Central Plains. This was the first of its kind. Money moved people's hearts. Such a huge reward could be said to be shocking. This explosive news caused the underground world of Phoenix City to go crazy overnight. As a result, many well-known experts came in disguise, hoping to get a piece of the pie. Looking at the time, it was close to 7 o'clock in the evening. At that time, he had just sent Wuxiaoduo home and killed a few experts who had ambushed him. That also, through the roadside surveillance camera, he had spoken before. It seemed that it was at that time that Shin Yushu finally decided to issue the reward. After a series of killings, Qin Fengyang finally felt that he was indeed ignorant and inexperienced. At the very least, he was outdated. Who would have thought of this during the fierce battle at the Sun Moon Pass? Some rich people in some places can throw away so much wealth just for their own personal grudges, driving these experts who are already considered to be accomplished cultivators to rush to their deaths. Money, is it so good? The power of money, is it so captivating and unafraid of death? Better than the perseverance of the heart? Better than the righteousness of the country? Better than the responsibility of a martial artist? Better than the principles of injustice? The more Qin Fengyang killed, the angrier he got. In the end, he did not hold back and started to kill. Since you all have the ability to go to the front line and use it here as the lackeys of the rich, then I can't say anything. Whoever comes, I will kill. Even if you're alive, you're still someone else's dog. Why can't I kill you? Come on. Endless noble spirit, endless heartless people to kill. Qin Fengyang was on Phoenix Tail Mountain, holding his sword to his chest and laughing to the sky. Watch me kill my way out in broad daylight. Ha ha ha. The torrential rain was like a waterfall. Qin Fengyang had completely turned into a killing god. He no longer walked in the light, but hid in the darkness. Assassination? Don't I, Qin Fengyang, know how to do it? Don't I, the 5 swordsmen, count as a powerful dragon? How long could a few local tyrants of Phoenix City act so arrogantly? Qin Fengyang was on this Phoenix Tail Mountain, moving back and forth, killing here and there. With his tyrannical cultivation, at least in this area, except for a few people, he was an invincible existence. The rain continued to fall and people kept dying. The rainwater flowing at the bottom of Phoenix Tail Mountain turned into a light pink because of the death of too many people. Even Qin Fengyang had forgotten how many people had died in his hands. The power of money could drive people crazy. From dusk to the arrival of the storm, from the downpour to the end of the storm, Qin Fengyang didn't stop at all. I will give you a chance to take revenge. I will also give you a chance to vent your anger. If you can't seize this opportunity, don't blame me for being merciless. In the end, although there were still people at the bottom of the mountain, few people dared to rush up. Qin Fengyang is just a teacher in the 2nd high school. He only taught the martial arts class. Why is he so difficult to deal with? Nascent soul cultivation? How can a teacher of the 2nd high school's martial arts class be at the nascent soul cultivation? Impossible. This understanding had been questioned and puzzled by many people, but it was difficult to understand. Qin Fengyang is already an arrow at the end of its flight. As long as we rush up, we can kill him. This kind of words have been said countless times. In any case, nearly 400 people had charged forward because of this sentence, and not a single one of them had survived. At this moment, hearing this sentence again, no one dared to go up. This Qin Fengyang must be good at assassination. In other words, in this mountain forest, it is no different from his home ground. Going up is suicide. Otherwise, it can't explain why so many people were killed by him. This kind of talk was getting more and more. We have to find a way to force him out. Otherwise, we can't do anything and can only sigh. Everyone was thinking of a way. As the mastermind, Shen Yushu was also thinking of a way. He had overestimated Qin Fengyang as much as possible, so he put out such a high reward. In fact, this reward was really put out by him in a moment of impulse. He almost regretted it the moment he put it out. The price was too high. But he never thought that under such a reward, under the tide-like serial assassinations, Qin Fengyang would be safe and sound. Not only was he safe and sound, but so many experts died. It was almost like they were rushing to their deaths. Chapter 154. After a night of killing, Shen Yushu would have to pay close to 200 million just to settle down. However, Qin Fengyang's words made Shen Yushu even more furious and fearful. I heard that CEO Shun's hands are stained with blood. But I don't know if you have more or I have more? It was this sentence that made Shen Yushu even more fearful. If I don't kill Qin Fengyang, I won't be able to sleep well in the future. He could feel Qin Fengyang's killing intent towards him, and it was not that he did not regret it. As his son's teacher, Qin Fengyang was originally from the same side, and could be said to be a natural ally, especially when Qin Fengyang specially reminded him for his son's safety, and even took extreme measures without regard for his status. He only hoped that his son would not go out to train, and it could be said that he was already extremely benevolent. Not to mention the disclaimer. He had stubbornly allowed his son to go out, and this matter could not be blamed on Qin Fengyang. This point, Shen Yushu was clear in his heart. If he could handle this matter rationally, Qin Fangyang would not be held responsible, but the guilt in Qin Fangyang's heart would still exist, and the two of them would have a high chance of becoming friends through this matter. To be able to have such a capable person as Qin Fangyang as a friend was already a blessing. However, he could not take this lying down, and his only thought was, "My son is dead and you guys are safe and sound. Then I will mess with you. What I have is money. See if I don't mess with you to death. I only need to throw money, and I can also smash you to death." It was this kind of arrogance that allowed him to command the wind and rain in Phoenix City for so many years, and the pain and madness of his own son's tragic death that made Shin Yushu take this step. And now there was no turning back. The rain has stopped. Stopped? It's good that it has stopped. Shin Yushu jumped up. Burn. Burn the mountain. Force him out. Xiao Shun against such an expert. I'm afraid burning the mountain is not very useful. Yes, he is flying. Fire is useless. He has been fighting for 6 hours. Have you seen flying? Is he made of iron? Shin Yushu said indifferently if he could leave, wouldn't he have left long ago? Since he is still here, it's not that he doesn't want to leave, but that he can't. Who would be so stupid to face 10,000 experts and not retreat? So stubborn. The others thought about it. This makes sense. As a result, thousands of large carts filled the foot of Phoenix Tail Mountain with fuel. An order was given. Flames soared into the sky. Qin Fangyang, even if you can fly, I will still burn you to ashes. Shan Yushu looked at the raging inferno that stretched for several hundred li. His heart filled with indescribable joy. We've been fighting for 8 hours. Are you Qin Fangyang made of iron? Even if I'm tired, I'll exhaust you to death. Shin Yushu muttered to himself, Die Qin Fangyang. Die. Ah! The fire soared to the sky. When the fire started burning, the people at the foot of the mountain were shocked to see Qin Fangyang's figure appear on a protruding cliff of Phoenix Tail Mountain. Beneath Qin Fangyang's feet was a towering inferno. It was as if he was floating amidst the flames. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Qin Fangyang let out a deafening roar. Shin Yushu, I will give you another chance tomorrow. In the light of the fire, the sword aura soared and turned into a long cylindrical dragon. It was bright and dazzling as it soared into the sky. In the cloudless sky after the rain it soared and danced. Then, it turned into a meteor-like ray of light, streaking across the sky and leaving calmly. Just like a comet, it pulled a long tail and disappeared into a place that was difficult to see. Shin Yushu's face turned pale. At this time, a few people rushed up with dark faces. Mr. Shun, the information you gave said that Qin Fangyang is at most at the peak of the inner core realm? Even if he hit his strength, he should have just broken through to the nascent soul realm. Is the early stage of the nascent soul realm his limit? But how do you explain the situation now? Flying thousands of feet in the sky and flying on the sword. This is clearly the cultivation of the peak of the nascent soul realm. Mr. Shun, to assassinate such a peerless master of martial arts, the minimum requirement is that the information is accurate, right? Shin Yushu, you are simply cheating people. Facing the tide of accusations, Shin Yushu's eyes stared blankly and his face turned pale. Qin Fangyang had been in second high for so many years, but he had never really shown his strength. The information that was registered in second high was also very vague. Moreover, Qin Fangyang had always been teaching the martial arts class. As for teaching the martial arts class, embryonic breathing realm cultivation was enough. Even innate realm cultivation was enough. Shin Yushu had already estimated Qin Fangyang's cultivation based on the highest estimate. There was a 30% chance that he was at the inner core realm. The worst estimate was that he had just broken through to the nascent soul realm. There was a 70% chance that he was at the inner core realm master realm cultivation. This was not only Shin Yushu's guess, but also what most people knew about Qin Fangyang. This included many teachers in second high who thought so. There were only a few people who knew Qin Fangyang's true strength. As for the attack on the long street that involved the Umno Alliance, they had already sealed their mouths. Now that Qin Fangyang had displayed such strength, Shin Yushu and the people who participated in the encirclement felt a chill in their hearts. A basin of ice water poured down on their heads. The fire on the mountain was still burning fiercely. With so much fuel, it was enough to burn Fengwei Mountain to ashes. After a long time, Shan Yushu finally gritted his teeth. Tomorrow the reward will be doubled. Everyone who had come because of the bounty had an ugly expression on their faces. Fuck you. Even if it's increased by 10 times, I won't go. Money is good, but it's only useful if you're alive to enjoy it. Fighting with someone at the peak of the nascent soul realm, half a step to the cloud transformation realm, is seeking death. Luckily, I didn't rush up stupidly. Otherwise, this day next year would be my death anniversary. Me too, it's so fucking dangerous. This Shen Yushu really tricked people to death. The scene of Qin Fengyang flying on his sword at the end made me feel cold all over. I'm infinitely glad. It's like taking a stroll with your head tied to your belt. Luckily, we came late otherwise. In one night, almost 2,000 people died. 2,000 martial arts practitioners who were at least at the peak of the innate realm, and more than half of the embryonic breathing realm and inner core realm, all died in the hands of one person. They only found out that he was at the peak of the nascent soul realm, half a step to the cloud transformation realm. Will those who died die with regret? Is this Shen Yushu retarded? His son's teacher is such a peerless grandmaster. Not only did he not suck up to him, he actually made their relationship to this extent. He wants to use a 1 billion bounty to kill someone at the peak of the nascent soul realm? Is there something wrong with his brain? Let's go home and sleep. That glimpse just now scared me so much that my legs turned to jelly. For 100,000 yuan, he risked his life with a peak of the nascent soul realm expert. Fuck, is 100,000 yuan enough to fucking kill Shen Yushu? Alright, let's not talk about it. It's already a great fortune that we didn't die. Let's go. Tomorrow's drink's my treat. My treat. Don't fight with me. A inner core realm expert actually didn't die from chasing a cloud transformation realm expert. My luck is indescribable. It must be my treat. Let's celebrate properly. Don't say that. Normally, embryonic breathing realm experts can also fly. However, the height Qin Fengyang flew to in one breath was more than 10,000 feet. The distance he flew directly on his sword. Damn, I don't think there's any problem for him to fly a few thousand miles around the 4 major cities in one breath. It scared me to death. Isn't that so? All the assassins who were chasing after Qin Fengyang were all discouraged. They left while discussing. No one was interested in the reward anymore. Looking at these people leaving one by one, Shen Yushu's whole body turned cold. Even his eyes began to show despair. The only thing he relied on was his own money. Now that money had lost its attraction, Shen Yushu could no longer think of any other way to deal with Qin Fengyang. He stood there blankly for a while, but said viciously, "Help me make an appointment with Chairman Meng tomorrow morning." The phoenix turned back. On the mountain, He Yuanyue was anxiously looking at the southern sky. She was waiting for the moment when heaven and earth converged and the dragon soared after the rain. Her gaze was so ardent and expectant. However, there was no movement in the distance. The full moon slowly deviated from the top of her head. He Yuanyue looked up at the full moon above her head for a while, then at the southern sky. Seeing that the full moon was about to deviate from the center, she was burning with anxiety and muttered, "Where is the phoenix if there's no dragon? Where's the dragon? It's impossible that there's no dragon. Come out." He Yuanyue called out weakly. Right at this moment, far away, a fire suddenly rose into the sky. The fire reached an uncontrollable level in an instant. The entire southern sky turned red because of it. The huge heat caused by the fire quickly turned the rain that had just fallen on the ground into steam. The steam rolled and rose slowly into the sky along with the heat wave. Not only He Yuanyue but also Zhuo Xiaoduo, Mu Yanyan, Zhuo Xiaonian and Sister Lan, who were watching on such a large scale, all saw this scene. Due to the raging fire, the heat wave formed a cloud of water vapor that filled the air, creating a peculiar sight in the air. The vapor slowly spread, expanded, and engulfed the entire Phoenix City. Right at this moment, the steam in Phoenix City seemed to be attracted and changed again. At the moment when it was about to converge with the heat wave, suddenly, it changed its course midway. An atmosphere spiraled, carrying the sweeping heat wave, and rushed into the sky. From Fenghuihui's side of the mountain peak, the scene was clearly that of a huge fire dragon. It was surrounded by endless red light. Suddenly, it drilled out of the soaring flames and soared into the sky with all the power of the flames. This fire dragon had a head and legs. Its 5 claws were awe-inspiring. Its whole body was covered in flames and golden light. It was clearly a dragon's scales. The way it shook its head and wagged its tail was as if it had suddenly broken free from endless shackles. It was mixed with tens and hundreds of millions of years of accumulation. It erupted and soared into the sky with more than enough. The continuous body of the fire dragon seemed to be endless. Its head was already in the sky, but there seemed to be a huge body that kept drilling out from the ground. That I've been exploding continuously for half a month without stopping. In 15 days, I've updated 230,000 words. I'm really tired. I'll take a rest tonight and continue to explode tomorrow. Maybe I'm still not as much as others. However, I'm at the forefront of the updates. As for those old guys who have been writing for more than 10 years, I'm probably the only one who's still updating like this. Cough. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please recommend me. Please come to Chidian Chinese Network and support me. Thank you. Chapter 155. Finally, the dragon's tail rose from the ground, and the fire dragon flew up and down, soaring towards the endless sky. This miraculous scene lasted for a full 2 minutes in the eyes of the crowd. The fire dragon finally disappeared into the sky. Nothing could be seen. However, the originally clear and cloudless sky suddenly surged in layers of clouds from the horizon. Suddenly, the wind in the horizon seemed to have torn a hole in the blue sky, and it blew crazily. The dark clouds in all directions were like soldiers who had heard the command of a great general. They began to gather at lightning speed towards this place. In the sky, the clouds rolled and flew, magnificent and infinite. He Yuanyue's lips trembled, and tears quietly flowed from her eyes. Those were tears because of excitement. I didn't see it wrong. Since there is a phoenix vein here, of course there is a dragon vein. The phoenix vein is protected by the dragon vein. But why is it a fire dragon? Why is it not a green dragon? He Yuanyue muttered to herself. However, the ecstasy in her heart was even more than that. The power of the fire dragon and its instantaneous explosive power were much greater than that of the green dragon. In the current dangerous situation, it was more appropriate to have the strongest explosive power. The phoenix of the dragon Yin dies, and the phoenix of the dragon Yang rises. Before the sun and the moon, the city is covered with blood. I see. Fire dragon, fire. Doesn't it represent the appearance of the dragon Yang? At this moment, Zuo Duo and the others were also shocked to the point that their bodies stiffened after witnessing such a miraculous scene. Their adrenaline surged as they trembled with excitement. Dragon! Mu Yinyan exclaimed. That's a fire dragon? Although Mu Yinyan was a super grandmaster at the peak of the nascent soul stage, she had never seen a dragon, a creature that only existed in legends. She absolutely did not expect that she would be able to see the manifestation of a dragon today. Although it was only a wind, water, and fire dragon, no one could deny that this was a dragon. Mu Yinyan was so shocked that she was a little carried away. It turns out that many ancient legends are not nonsense. Too many people won't believe it, but it's just that future generations or people today who don't have the chance to see it. Just like today's scenery, if not for standing on top of the phoenix turning around and overlooking the entire land, rivers, and mountains, even in Phoenix City, it would be impossible to see. It's just that this dragon, why has it been dormant for so long and not come out? Mu Yinyan looked at the sky with some reverence. The dark clouds in all directions were gathering rapidly. In the middle, there was only the surroundings of the full moon which had not been covered, but it was only a matter of a moment. The wind blew crazily, causing all the trees on the mountain to let out a mournful sound. They bent neatly, as if they were bowing respectfully to the king of beasts. He Yuanyue smiled. She smiled with satisfaction. It's good that it has come out. It can be seen that this dragon has also suffered a lot. I'm afraid that it has been dormant all this time because it was restrained by some factors. Now, at this moment of time, the wind and clouds have gathered, and it has finally awakened. However, if it weren't for the strong force of the fire from the south that strongly impacted the dragon and phoenix veins, increasing the power of this fire dragon to a considerable extent and taking advantage of the momentum to rise to the sky, I'm afraid that it may not be able to break free. The rain bred the dragon's body, and the fire encouraged the dragon's power. It's good that it can get out of the trap. It's good that it can get out of the trap. Maybe it will be better because of this. He Yuanyue's face was full of relief. Zhuo Xiaonian looked in the direction where the fire dragon disappeared and murmured, Grandma I feel that the fire dragon that just came out is very strange. He Yuanyue was in a good mood at the moment. She asked with a smile, very strange? What's so strange about it? I always feel that this fire dragon is a little strange. Especially when it just broke free and rushed up, it was quite a kind of exaltation. No, it shouldn't be exaltation, but the feeling of a villain who has achieved success. Anyway, it's not the kind of atmosphere that is particularly decent. Zhuo Xiaonian muttered, this dragon gives people the kind of feeling that I want to catch and beat it up. The kind of lovable feeling that it is hateful but I can't bear to kill it. He Yuanyue laughed heartily and said, a dragon has been trapped for 10,000 years. Now that it has escaped, it's natural for it to be arrogant. It must have been hard on you, little girl, to think so much and empathize with it. Zhuo Xiaonian smiled embarrassedly. Well, just now she was acting like a girl and couldn't help but fantasize about it. Then he tilted his head and saw Zhuo Xiaoduo staring blankly at the sky. That sluggish pug expression on his face made Zhuo Xiaoduo want to trample on him. He immediately grabbed his head and rubbed it in his arms. Seeing the wonder of heaven and earth, Zhuo Xiaoduo was so excited that he almost went crazy. Damn it, your expression just now was so silly, haha. Help! Help! Zhuo Xiaoduo's voice changed. Everyone laughed. He Yuanyue finally put down the biggest worry in her heart. Her smile also became relaxed. She said lightly, the situation has been reversed with the Phoenix Pulse spirit. We have at least a 50-50 chance of success. Now that the time is on our side, we just need to continue to think of ways to cooperate with the follow-up of the Phoenix Pulse spirit. Zhuo Xiaoduo touched his messy hair and struggled out of Zhuo Xiaonian's arms with a complaining face. Then he heard this sentence. He couldn't help but be stunned. He hurriedly turned his head to look at Zhuo Xiaonian's pretty face. Sure enough, the strong inexplicable death aura from before had dissipated a lot. Instead, it was replaced by an indescribable unknown. Unknown? How could it be unknown? Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't believe it. He activated the Deva Eye and used a drop of luck point to look at Zhuo Xiaonian's face with a burning gaze. However, more strange information was projected into Zhuo Xiaoduo's mind. The moment it entered his mind, Zhuo Xiaoduo's eyes bulged and his eyeballs almost flew out. How could this be? Because what he saw was, Zhuo Xiaonian? Well, it was a series of question marks. What the hell was this? Zhuo Xiaoduo was cursing in his heart. How could this be? A series of question marks? What kind of answer was this? It was driving masters were crazy. When Zhuo Xiaonian saw him suddenly staring at her in a daze, she couldn't help but feel angry, happy, and embarrassed. The moment she came back to her senses, she became even more shy. She couldn't help but pinch Zhuo Xiaoduo's waist forcefully and said angrily, What are you looking at? Ouch, 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 ouch. Zhuo Xiaoduo held in pain. He was in so much pain that he wanted to die. Mu Yanyan and the others all smiled knowingly when they saw this pair of children playing around. At this moment, a sword light suddenly appeared in the cloudy sky from afar. It was like a bolt of lightning that penetrated the heavens and the earth. It rushed into the clouds and disappeared behind the thick clouds. Sister Lan's eyes were the sharpest, and the owner of the sword light was someone she was familiar with. Although it was just a flash, she still recognized who it was. She couldn't help but be surprised. Qin Fengyang? What is he doing? Qin Fengyang? Hearing that it was Qin Fengyang, He Yuanyue couldn't help but look up. She only saw that the dark clouds in all directions had gathered and formed a thick layer, like mountains gathering in the sky. Silver snakes danced in all directions, and countless bolts of lightning interweaved into a big net. Even though the wind was blowing, it didn't have any effect on the dark clouds in the sky. The clouds were getting thicker and thicker, and the sound of lightning was gradually becoming clearer. Amidst the dark clouds, the faint sound of thunder had already begun to resound rhythmically. It was like the dull beating of ancient war drums as it gradually approached. The sword light flashed again, and Qin Fengyang came out of the dark clouds and landed on the big rock. He said angrily, The wind is so strong and it's going to rain soon. What are you doing here? Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? He Yuanyue nodded slowly and said, the birth of the fire dragon, and the change of the chi of the phoenix vein, we are indeed not safe here. Especially the appearance of the fire dragon, who knows how many years of accumulated resentment before, will inevitably turn into a heavy rain and fall on the world. Let's go back to the office and talk. Just as He Yuanyue's voice fell, a sudden clap of thunder sounded in the sky, as if it was responding to her words. Crack! It was deafening. A blazing white light of lightning from the clouds to the east and west went straight to the north and south, and then with a violent force that could destroy the world, it zigzagged and fell to the ground. The whole sky and earth at this moment was even brighter than noon. The target of the lightning was the phoenix turning head, like a heavenly tribulation descending to the world, abundant and unstoppable. Sister Lan's vital energy suddenly rolled up, and Qin Fengyang moved almost at the same time as her. He rolled up He Yuanyue and sped away. Mu Yinyan rolled up her long sleeves, rolled up Zhuoxiaonian and Zhuoxiaoduo, and also flew away. Zhuoxiaoduo's face was full of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. Just now when such a frightening lightning fell, Qin Fengyang didn't even look at him from the corner of his eye, and directly took He Yuanyue away. I'm your disciple. Where do you put me by doing this? I'm so angry. Humph. Luckily I can still control a few of them. If I'm really angry, I'll eat more tomorrow and directly choke myself to death, and directly let you, Qin Fengyang, lose your legacy. Just a moment after everyone left, the phoenix turning head was hit by the lightning. The endless power of the lightning went deep into the whole mountain, and the earth-shattering rumbling sounded one after another. Not long after, the cliff at the back of the mountain began to collapse, and the whole mountain below the phoenix turning head had landslides, and mudslides rolled out. With the appearance of the mudslide, the phoenix turning head, which was no less than 10 million tons, began to slowly rotate. Although the rotation frequency was very slight, it was very clear and even very coherent. Once it started to rotate, there was no sign of it stopping. With the landslide in the north, the cliff collapsed, and the mudslides rolled out from the east and west. Under the gaze of the few people who flew to the sky to avoid the lightning, the phoenix turning head, just a little bit slowly, turned back. Finally, the protruding huge rock turned in one direction, from facing south to facing north. The whole mountain was shocked for a moment, and then returned to silence. The mudslide lost its power source and slowly stopped. The rainstorm that had accumulated to the extreme in the sky began to pour down crazily with a crash. Chapter 156. In the distance, high up in the sky, when Zhuoxiaoduo and the other 5 saw this scene, 5 of them fell into a state of stupefaction and were in a daze. The momentum of the entire mountain had changed right under their noses. When the heavens unleashed killing intent, the stars shifted, and when the earth unleashed killing intent, the dragons and snakes rose. Only He Yuanyue, who was in Qin Fengyang's vitality shield, was full of relief. She looked ahead quietly and said, Zhuoxiaoduo, do you see anything? Zhuoxiaoduo looked at it attentively and said after a long while, I don't know if my feeling is right. Please enlighten me. Go ahead. The overall shape of the phoenix before the mountain changed was like a big bird. A phoenix spreading its wings to soar, but it didn't fly. The whole structure was very strange, anxious, and angry. It turned its head to look at it, as if it was observing what was preventing it from flying. He Yuanyue's eyes were smiling. What about now? Now, after the phoenix turned its head again and again, it was like a phoenix that was ready to take off and could fly at any time. What's more, there seemed to be a very strange sense of stability helping its momentum. It only needed to flap its wings and fly. It didn't need to worry about anything else. He Yuanyue laughed and said, You've seen it very carefully. This is the effect of the phoenix and dragon souls cooperating and supporting each other. Now that it has the protection of the true dragon, the phoenix no longer has any scruples. It only needs to wait for the right time to spread its wings and soar. This is the extreme trust between the dragon and the phoenix. If the dragon can't block the danger for the phoenix, then the dragon and the phoenix will grieve together and live and die together without regrets. If the dragon can block the external constraints, then the phoenix can really dance in the 9 heavens. This is the dragon and phoenix veins. This is the power of the world. Now the time and the place are on our side. He Yuanyue looked very happy. Originally, this fire dragon shouldn't have appeared now. It is also bound by some shackles. Even if it wants to come out, it can't. Therefore, this was originally a situation where the dragon was in the dark and the phoenix was dead. They struggled bitterly but were powerless. But now I don't know if it's fate or a stroke of luck. In any case, there are too many factors entangled together. Too many people are working hard. All kinds of forces are mixed together. It's a freak combination of factors. For example, the UMNO Alliance, in order to obtain the power of providence of the Phoenix Pulse spirit, resorted to all sorts of means. Or perhaps it was deliberately manipulated by someone to forcefully capture the power of the Phoenix Pulse for their own use. And today's sudden mountain fire, all of these means were originally evil and harmful to Phoenix City and the Phoenix Pulse. But in the end, because no one knew about the existence of the dragon's vein, all of their methods combined, and by a freak combination of factors, caused the birth of the fire dragon today. Today, the situation in Phoenix City is no longer one of absolute death or 9 out of 10 chances of survival. Instead, it's a situation where dragons and phoenixes roar, where the winds and clouds meet. This is fate. This was the predestined fate of the unseen world. Man proposes, God disposes. He Yuanyue sighed from the bottom of her heart. Zhuxiaonian was also watching this scene. When she heard this, she said thoughtfully, I don't think so. Oh, if you put it this way, I feel that the phoenix turning back is the phoenix waiting. That is, I'm about to leave. Why aren't you following me? That kind of feeling. Now that the dragon has soared, the phoenix is relieved. Hence it turned back. What it's waiting for is the feeling of relief that it's waiting for. Zhuxiaonian's words were filled with the innocence of a young girl. Everyone laughed. If you put it that way, it makes sense. He Yuanyue laughed very happily. Sister Lan said quietly, this is also something that no one would have thought of. This dragon's vein is really too well hidden. It's so well hidden that no one realized that there was a dragon's vein here. At most, they only knew that there was a phoenix pulse here. He Yuanyue said, of course, it's because of this that they only made all the arrangements for the phoenix pulse. They wanted to capture this lone phoenix directly. However, they didn't expect that this would awaken the sleeping true dragon. They hit the jackpot and awakened the true dragon's vein, turning the situation around to their disadvantage. It's really luck and fate. This dragon's vein has been hidden deep underground. No one has discovered it. Until now, no one has discovered it. It's like a dragon that has been sleeping for a long time. However, at this moment it was awakened. The awakened true dragon broke free from its shackles. When it soared into the sky, it realized that the phoenix pulse was trapped. Naturally, it reached out to help. It turned into a meeting of the winds and clouds. At the same time, it formed this heavy rain and changed the phoenix's situation. This is a sleeping fire dragon. He Yuanyue heaved a long sigh of relief. She smiled and said, now that the winds and clouds have gathered, we should do our best to fight for a 50-50 chance of survival. We can't allow the Phoenix Pulse's power to be stolen by thieves. Now that the true dragon has appeared and soared into the sky, the situation is good. Will the phoenix still be in danger? Sister Lan asked. Of course. He Yuanyue said. The dragon's vein and the phoenix's vein are just the natural feng shui of the qi-gazing technique. It's one thing for the situation to turn for the better, but it's still far from enough. We still need manpower. We have to be involved to make the dragon's dance and phoenix's dance real. If we don't do anything because we see this, then the final result will still be a dead dragon and a dead phoenix. Because the terrain has reached this point, there's no way to change it anymore. If we don't do anything, the UMNO Alliance may accidentally obtain a dragon's vein after they've completely obtained the Phoenix Pulse spirit. This dragon's vein buried deep underground. It may have been hidden underground for a longer time than the phoenix's vein. It's unknown how deep and wide it is. When that time comes, it'll be a real disaster. The turning point doesn't mean that there won't be any more disasters. On the contrary, we have to deal with it more actively to ensure our safety. The heavens have given us a hint. If we don't seize it, we'll be letting the heavens down. Everyone nodded in unison, not fully understanding. The 9 heavens dragon's roar pierces the heavens. Phoenix soars through the wind and clouds. In the pouring rain, He Yuanyue solemnly warned, What you saw today must be kept a secret. No one is allowed to breathe a word of this to anyone else. Not a single word. When He Yuanyue spoke, she didn't look at anyone else at all. She just stared straight at Mu Yinyan's face. Don't worry, old principal. Mu Yinyan said solemnly. I'm worried. He Yuanyue shook her head gently and said, your Kunlun Taoist school has too many people and too many people. Especially you, Mu Yinyan, are too sentimental. If you encounter your elders, I'm worried that you'll tell them. Mu Yinyan made a prompt decision and swore to the heavens, I, Mu Yinyan, will keep today's secret forever and never reveal a single word. If I violate this oath, I'll be destroyed by the heavens and abandoned by the gods. He Yuanyue's expression eased. Teacher Mu, I'm sorry. It's okay. Mu Yinyan was very free and easy. This matter concerns the overall situation. Old principal, you should be cautious. Then now, shall we go home? Zhuo Duo asked weakly. No, let's go to the second high school together. My office. He Yuanyue smiled, her eyes shining. A lot of things have to be finalized tonight. The second high school. He Yuanyue's office. Teacher Qin, why are you in such a good mood tonight? Did you travel around the mountains and rivers? Sister Lan looked at Qin Fangyang and asked a rare question. Although Qin Fangyang had already tidied up and changed his clothes, the aura of a battle could not be concealed no matter what. Especially in the eyes of a powerful person like Sister Lan, there was no way to hide it. Not to mention that there were still many wounds on his body that were still bleeding, and his face was pale, which was even more evidence. It's nothing, really nothing. I'll be fine by tomorrow at most. Qin Fangyang smiled and said, you guys are really so busy that you didn't notice the wanted order posted on the internet. The most popular news in Phoenix City right now is nothing more than this. Wanted order? Yes, Shun Tunan died while training. His father, Shun Yushu, vented his anger on me and sent people to kill me. In the afternoon he sent more than 30 people, but they were all killed by me. Then, he posted a wanted order with a reward of 1 billion for my head. Qin Fangyang smiled faintly. The corner of his mouth revealed a trace of mockery, with a hint of sadness. He was sad because there were so many good men, each of them with good cultivation, but they did not go to the Sun Moon Pass to resist the UMNO alliance. Instead, they were dogs for the rich and powerful. It was really sad. This is too much. He Yuanyue said angrily, Shin Yushu is crazy. Sister Lan smiled and looked at Qin Fangyang. So Teacher Qin went out? Yes. Qin Fangyang smiled. I have to let Shin Yushu try and see if he can kill me. Otherwise, I think he will regret it. Just to let others try and see if they can kill him? He Yuanyue was speechless and decided not to say anything. At this time, she felt that if she was not afraid of being exposed, she would definitely rush up and scratch Qin Fangyang's face. Wasn't he treating his life as a joke? Do you think that your life only belongs to you? Do you think you're the only one? Sister Lan narrowed her eyes and said, Teacher Qin, what you are doing is extremely irresponsible to Second High, to the students and to yourself. Qin Fangyang smiled. I have already taken the responsibility that I should take. Now others are looking for trouble with me. Do you want me to be like a tortoise and hide in Second High for the rest of my life? Don't forget that you still have your career. Sister Lan said seriously, you still have your own dreams, your own ambitions. There were some things that He Yuanyue could not say, so Sister Lan naturally had to say it for her. Although Sister Lan was not willing to say these words. There was no more stock. It was more painful to write now. Monthly tickets, referral tickets, and subscriptions. Chapter 157. Dream? Ambition? These things are too high and mighty. How am I worthy of having them? Qin Fangyang smiled bleakly. Ever since my wife went missing, for nearly 100 years, I searched every day, every night in my dreams. My only goal is to find her. The battle at Sun Moon Pass lasted for decades, and there are no less than thousands of scars on my body. However, no matter how many scars there are on my body, how can they compare to the deep scars in my heart? If I can't find her, my life will most likely be like this. However, Emir Shin Yushu wanted to kill me. It's one thing for me to give him a chance, but whether he can kill me or not is another matter. Qin Fangyang laughed bleakly. Tonight, with Shen Yushu's bounty on my back, I slaughtered my way out of Phoenix City, all the way to Mount Phoenix Tail. Those who wanted this bounty, even Nanji City and Antai City, gathered nearly 10,000 people. We fought until midnight, killing until blood flowed like a river, until the storm stopped, until Shen Yushu set fire to Mount Phoenix Tail. Only then did I decide not to play with him anymore. Hearing this, He Yuanyue's expression changed, and she looked at Qin Fangyang with a strange gaze. So, that monstrous fire was actually caused by this? Qin Fangyang was actually the person who triggered the southern heavenly fire? If that's the case, Qin Fangyang and the person favored by the dragon vein had great karma. However, this obviously didn't happen before. Thinking back regarding the origin of Qin Fangyang's bounty, other than Qin Fangyang and Shen Yushu, there was also a Zuoxiaoduo. He Yuanyue's gaze slowly turned, stopping at Zuoxiaoduo, who was looking at Qin Fangyang with an envious and worshipful expression. This kid had an expression of "You're so impressive, you're so awesome. I really wish I could be like you." He Yuanyue was stunned. This kid's aura was it. But how was this possible? How could dragons and phoenixes be of the same origin? She stared at Zuoxiaoduo and Zuoxiaonian, and was tongue-tied for a long time. Suddenly she asked a baffling question. Spiritual sense, you and Xiaoduo, you're not biological siblings, right? Spiritual thoughts? Upon hearing this name, Qin Fangyang immediately reacted. He turned his head to look at this girl who seemed to be surrounded by an ethereal immortal aura, even though she was just standing there. She was actually the legendary spiritual thought goddess? And the spiritual thought goddess was actually Zuoxiaoduo's sister? Was she the cerebral palsy sister mentioned by Zuoxiaoduo? Even though he was exhausted and covered in wounds, Qin Fangyang almost couldn't stop himself from bursting into laughter. Zuoxiaonian's face suddenly turned red like a big piece of red cloth. The fairy from the heavenly palace just now had turned into a shy girl in an instant. Grandma, just answer me directly. He Yuanyue had already guessed it, but she still wanted a definite answer. Ahem. Zuoxiaonian lowered her head and blushed. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzzing. Yes, I'm my parents' adopted daughter. She lowered her head shyly, and her head was almost buried in her chest. Sister Lan was puzzled. So what if you're your parents' adopted daughter? Do you have to be so shy? He Yuanyue knew it in her heart. She smiled kindly and said, I see. That's great, that's great. At this moment, she was really happy, and excited from the bottom of her heart. The two candidates were finally confirmed. Although He Yuanyue wasn't going to tell anyone about this, she couldn't suppress the joy in her heart. The person she had been trying so hard to find turned out to be right under her nose all along. Qin Fangyang was confused. Weren't you concerned about me just now? I was impassioned, emotional, and affectionate for a long time. In the end, you changed the topic and asked if they were biological siblings. What does this have to do with anything? Ahem. Qin Fangyang coughed. He timely let a trace of blood flow out of the wound on his arm. Look at me and care about me. However, He Yuanyue was obviously not going to care about him. She was completely not interested in him. Not to mention that He Yuanyue was full of joy now. She was only angry with Qin Fangyang. You foolishly ran out to fight with more than 10,000 people? He still wanted to feel sorry for her? He was really thinking too much. It's a coincidence that I called everyone here tonight. He Yuanyue smiled and said, originally, only Nian and Xiaoduo were invited tonight, but Teacher Mu and Teacher Qin also met by chance and gathered together. This should be said to be a blessing from the heavens. Qin Fangyang took a step back warily. A blessing from the heavens? Are you trying to set me up with Mu Yanyan? What are you thinking? He Yuanyue's next words made Qin Fangyang know that he was thinking too much. What I'm going to say next is also very confidential. It's related to the success or failure of the breakthrough of spiritual thoughts, and also the success of the Phoenix Pulse soul. If we look at it more broadly, it may even affect the fate of the entire astral souls. He Yuanyue said, so, I need your help. Mu Yanyan and Qin Fangyang said at the same time. Old principal, just say the word. A few decades ago I made a mistake. He Yuanyue sighed softly and said, and this wrong thing I didn't realize it until today. It's really a sin. A neglected human nature. People always want to have the best things for themselves, even if this thing was originally someone else's and was destined to be someone else's. However, people are not saints. How can they be selfless? Especially when it involves family inheritance, it can't be normal. As for me, I neglected this selfishness. Yuanyue said slowly. Decades ago, I discovered that there might be a phoenix pulse in Phoenix City, so I began to investigate. And the results of the investigation confirmed my guess. There is indeed a phoenix pulse here. Moreover, it has the momentum of the phoenix flight that has been accumulated for 43,000 years. So I began a new effort, hoping that my discovery could be taken seriously. But at that time I was really a nobody and was not valued at all. Even if I worked hard for more than 10 years, there was still no result. It was probably at that time that the Meng clan and the Ning clan both had descendants studying in the second high school. Back then, the Ning clan was the leading martial arts family in Phoenix City, and even in the 4 nearby cities. It was very prestigious. The Meng clan had also become the richest family in Phoenix City. Since I couldn't do it myself, I naturally thought of looking for help. So, I met with Ning Suifeng and Meng Tianyue at the same time. I hoped that I could borrow their power to influence the upper management to pay attention to this matter. In fact, the Ning clan and the Meng clan did use a lot of power to report to the upper management. But after 5 or 6 years of hard work and using a lot of resources and connections, there was still no result. Slowly, these 2 clans also seemed to slack off. But I can understand. After all, these 2 clans had already paid a lot for this. So I have always been grateful. Yuanyue's voice was very calm, as if she was talking about something unimportant. But Qin Fengyang and Mu Yanyan listened with rapt attention, afraid that they would miss every word Yuanyue said. After that, I don't know if it was because of those continuous useless efforts that the Ning clan's power continued to weaken. At that time, Ning Suifeng retreated behind the scenes and handed over the position of the clan head, at least in name, to his eldest son, Ning Tianlan. And Ning Suifeng himself retreated behind the scenes, declaring that he would no longer care about the affairs of the world. He even mocked himself in front of others, saying that he had worked hard all his life and wanted to enjoy a few years of life. But after his wife passed away, these years were really lonely. At the beginning, no one took Ning Suifeng's self-mockery seriously. But from that time onwards, Ning Suifeng really became an old man who flirted with girls everywhere. As long as he saw a beautiful girl, he would go up and flirt with her. You have to know that although Ning Suifeng was not young anymore, his cultivation was not bad. His appearance was about the same as Teacher Qin's now, looking like a mature middle-aged uncle. He was quite popular with young girls. Qin Fengyang, who was listening attentively, suddenly widened his eyes. You, aren't you telling your story? Why? Are you talking about me now? Old man and popular with young girls. I keep feeling that there's a hidden meaning in your words. Thinking of this, he actually felt a little uneasy. All these years, I didn't do anything. When I saw young girls, I always avoided them, afraid that there would be a misunderstanding. No one knew that in the blink of an eye, Qin Fengyang had already recalled all the things that happened to him in the first half of his life. Then he heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't do anything. After thinking it through, he immediately felt refreshed and a carefree smile appeared on his face. Sister Lan glared at him fiercely. What do you mean by this smile? I just said that you were popular with young girls and you're so happy? Pooh. Ungrateful person. Indeed, there's no good man. In the end, how many girls did Ning Suifeng get? It's really hard to count. Just those who entered the Ning clan, there's already no way to check. The number of heads is really too many. Yuanyue said, all in all, Ning Suifeng was really crazy at that time. Sister Lan was busy for the whole afternoon this afternoon, and I've compiled some data. Yes, just a part of the data. Yuanyue said solemnly, in the past 5 years, just based on the records, there were more than 200 young girls who were brought home by Ning Tianfeng. We don't know how many we haven't found and confirmed. And among these 200 people, more than 170 were pregnant. In total, they gave birth to more than 90 male babies, and more than 80 female babies. And these children, after being tested for astral souls, were sent to different places by Ning Suifeng to receive education. Only a few of them stayed in Phoenix City, and most of the mothers of these babies are silent. Perhaps many of them have already disappeared. But with the Ning clan's status and wealth in Phoenix City, it's really easy to settle these matters. Especially since he never laid his hands on the girls from the big clans. From the beginning to the end, he never caused any big trouble. Chapter 158. After that, Ning Suifeng began to look for some female warriors with good aptitudes. For ordinary girls, no matter how beautiful and elegant they were, he didn't care about them. 2 years later, Ning Qingcheng was born. After testing her astral souls, it was found that her aptitude was 97 astral souls, a peerless genius. Ning Qingcheng is 19 years old this year. Hearing this, Mu Yanyan and Qin Fangyang already understood half of it. Mu Yanyan frowned and said, Ning Suifeng wants his daughter to inherit the phoenix vein? He Yuanyue looked cold and ignored Mu Yanyan's question. Then she talked about Meng Tianyue of the Meng group. Following Ning Suifeng's crazy actions, Meng Tianyue also followed in his footsteps. At first, he acted secretly and only hunted girls in the dark. Later, he began to pursue girls openly. So he became a famous beauty hunter in the upper class of Phoenix City. In just a few years, the number of girls that Meng Tianyue has dated has reached a terrifying number of thousands. Those who were taken back by him after they got pregnant, there are about 40 to 50 of them. The children that they gave birth to are all missing, just like what Ning Suifeng did. And those women who gave birth to his children, now they are all dead. Hearing this, Zuo Duo couldn't help but show a yearning look on his face. These two people were both beauty hunters. Thousands of people killed. A lot of sons and daughters. Oh my God. But just as he couldn't help but imagine, he felt a sharp pain in his waist. Zuo Duo opened his mouth wide. He didn't dare to make a sound to interrupt He Yuanyue, but his facial features were distorted by the pain. Turning his head to look at Zuo Xiaoyan, he showed a begging expression like a pug. He pitifully mouthed, "Spare me." The soft flesh in his waist was finally free. Zuo Xiaoyan calmly retracted his hand. There was not a trace of anger in the whole process. Everything was so casual, as if it was his own arm and finger, as if it was his heart's desire. Like this, another 3 years passed. The year after Ning Qingcheng was born, Meng Chanyu was born. When it was time for Meng Chanyu to take the test for astral souls, her innate talent was the 9-5 astral souls. Not only is she a peerless genius, she also has the fate of an emperor, even above Ning Qingcheng. About 5 years before Ning Qingcheng was born, the Ning family suddenly moved their ancestral grave. At that time, the person who was invited to look at qi and feng shui was the famous qi diviner, Blind Hong. Yes, at that time Blind Hong wasn't blind. It was only after he finished observing the geomancy of the graveyard for the Ning family that he lost an eye. 4 years before Ning Qingcheng was born, Meng Tianyue suddenly moved the headquarters of the Meng Corporation. During this period, they spared no expense in speeding up the construction period, causing the entire project to be completed within half a year. Then, despite the cold, they moved in. And the person who watches the Meng Corporation is also Blind Hong. After looking at the feng shui of the Meng conglomerate, Blind Hong really became blind. Both of his eyes were blind. When He Yuanyue spoke to this point, she suddenly stopped. Qin Fangyang and Mu Yanyan's moods also became very heavy. Although they couldn't deduce the whole story based on these secrets with their wisdom and what they saw tonight, they could more or less guess the situation. He Yuanyue drank some water and ate a pill. After resting for a while, she continued. According to my investigation, Meng Chanyu and Ning Qingcheng's birth characters are fake. Nobody knows the real birth characters of these two girls. He Yuanyue laughed self-deprecatingly and said, I have to say, with the strength of these two great clans, it is really too easy to trick and deceive a lonely old woman like me who usually stays in second middle school and almost never goes out. Qin Fangyang's eyes burned with anger. After Meng Chanyu and Ning Qingcheng were tested to have astral souls, they encountered many assassination attempts by the UMNO alliance. Now that I think about it, whether or not the mastermind behind the assassination attempts was the UMNO alliance, it is hard to determine. Let's just say it like this for now. Then the two families came to me and begged me to show them the way. I considered the past friendship between the two families, and the fact that those two girls had the qualifications to inherit the phoenix vein. So I thickened my skin and invited a few experts from various sections. In the end, it was Kunlun Dao School's teacher Mu. He Yuanyue nodded to Mu Yin. And teacher Cho of Zizai Dao School stayed in Phoenix City, and took in Mengchan Yu and Ning Qingqing as disciples. Teacher Cho came early and took Ning Qingqing as a disciple. Teacher Mu came a year later and took in Ling Nian first. The second year she took in Mengchan Yu. He Yuanyue said, originally, if the Ning family and Meng group only coveted the phoenix vein, I might not be angry. Helping others and helping oneself is a good way to solve the problem. But today I found out that the two families, in order to ensure the success of their plan, one in the cemetery and one in the headquarters, tied the phoenix vein's 2 legs. These 2 legs are what Xiao Duo and I saw at Phoenix turning around today. He Yuanyue sighed softly. Using the terrain they tied the phoenix's 2 legs. How can the phoenix fly? Also tonight, after confirming it again and again, I made a new connection. Holding the phoenix's 2 legs and not letting the phoenix fly, there is still the phoenix vein's soul, but this derived phoenix vein's soul power is not complete. At the same time, I can already confirm that the true inheritor of the phoenix vein's soul is Ling Nian. But based on the previous situation, with the phoenix's 2 legs tied and unable to fly, Ling Nian's phoenix vein's soul power will definitely end in failure. There is no luck. If my guess is correct, after the phoenix vein's soul power fails, the true inheritor of the phoenix vein will definitely die. And the power of the phoenix vein has already rushed out, but it can no longer be retracted. And the person who is not the phoenix vein's inheritor cannot accept the phoenix vein's soul power. And because the phoenix's 2 legs are tied and controlled, the power after the phoenix vein's soul power fails will be divided into 3. The left phoenix vein will rush into Mengchan Yu's body, and the right phoenix vein will rush into the Ning family's Ning Qingqing's body, and more of the phoenix spirit's soul power will rush into the air. The spirit's soul power that rushes into the air will still be unable to truly soar into the sky because its 2 legs are tied. At that time there will be 2 possibilities. One is that it will dissipate in the air and be fed back to the mountains and rivers. The other is that it will be taken away by someone. For so many years, the upper echelons on our side have never noticed this. So if there is someone who takes away the phoenix spirit, it will definitely be someone from the Umno Alliance. You can well imagine this. He Yuanyue's voice was heavy. Speaking until here, her breathing became weak and she stopped to drink water. But Mu Yanyan and Qin Fengyang were so shocked that their scalps were numb. Especially Mu Yanyan, because Mengchan Yu was her disciple. Qin Fengyang swallowed and said, so, the Meng family and the Ning family are most likely colluding with the Umno Alliance? He Yuanyue finished drinking water and gently said, not necessarily both families, but at least one family is undoubtedly colluding with them. Now I finally understand why the upper echelons did not pay any attention to my painstaking efforts for more than 40 years. He Yuanyue laughed self-deprecatingly. It's because I entrusted it to the wrong people. Mu Yanyan understood. It's still these 2 families? Yes. These 2 families provided money and manpower to help me. I have always been grateful for dozens of years. He Yuanyue's expression was bleak and she said, but what I never thought was, Qin Fengyang snorted angrily and sneered. Using this matter to deal with you, it could not be easier. The 2 families were both rich and powerful. How could they not be able to get in touch with their connections? They must have contacted the weaker ones while spending money to contact the stronger ones to stop you. Like this, you will never be able to achieve your goal. And you will only see them running around. And the gratitude in your heart will accumulate day by day. It will also make it easier for them to obtain information about the phoenix vein from you and turn it into their own family's arrangements. Truly a good scheme, a good method. Qin Fengyang gritted his teeth. So right now these 2 families cannot be trusted. You must assume that they are colluding with the Umno Alliance. He Yuanyue breathed heavily and said, so I need you to help me. Mu Yanyan's expression was solemn. Please speak. First, I need to confirm which of these 2 families is related to the Umno Alliance. Second, I need to know Mengchan Yu and Ning Qingqing's real birth characters. Third, the Ning family graveyard and the Meng Corporation's headquarters must be destroyed. Hearing this, Qin Fengyang and Mu Yanyan's expressions immediately became ugly. These 3 matters were truly each more difficult than the last. Not to mention the first 2, just the third. A family that had been in Phoenix City for thousands of years. The #1 martial arts family. You want to dig up their ancestral graves? The other was a business empire that had businesses all over the Yanwu Empire. You want to destroy their headquarters? Not to mention He Yuanyue and Mu Yanyan, even the current governor of Phoenix City, Wan Pingyuan, would not dare to do this even if he had gone mad. I know this matter is difficult. He Yuanyue also had a worried expression. But these 2 matters are related to the success or failure of the Phoenix Pulse. From a certain perspective, the success or failure of the Phoenix Pulse also affects the fate of the continent. Although it may not affect too much, even if it affects the slightest bit, for the entire continent it is a huge matter. If we cannot stop it, even if we die, we will have no face to face our ancestors, and even more so, no face to face our descendants. Qin Fengyang laughed bitterly at himself. How can I, Qin Fengyang, have descendants? Ahem. Sister Lan lightly coughed and interrupted. Teacher Qin, this matter, just tell us if you will help or not. Although Sister Lan interrupted, He Yuanyue's expression had already darkened. How could she not understand Qin Fengyang's meaning? I don't even have a wife, so how can I have descendants? I have no face to face our ancestors long ago. This unfinished sentence caused He Yuanyue's heart to ache as if it was pierced by needles. Chapter 159. Qin Fengyang suddenly realized his slip of the tongue. He regretted it so much that he wanted to slap his own mouth. Without hesitation he said, "Help. I have to help you no matter what." Mu Yanyan pondered and did not speak for a long time. This was not a simple promise. The difficulty of this matter was as high as heaven. No, it was not that difficult. Sister Lan's eyes flashed and said, "One more thing. Meng Tianyue's son, Meng Chuntian, I'm afraid the problem behind him is not small." Mu Yanyan suddenly looked up. He Yuanyue also suddenly thought of something and said suspiciously, "Meng Chuntian? The father is called Meng Tianyue and the son is called Meng Chuntian? That's a repeated word." The repeated word is just one aspect. You can deal with it if you don't pay attention to it. Sister Lan said lightly, "What I care about is the word Chuntian in Meng Chuntian. It's really thought-provoking. Which heaven does he want to sink? As for the person who gave him his name, which heaven did he want to sink? Is it the heaven of the Umno Alliance? Or the heaven of the astral souls?" Zuoshaoduo said, "That Meng Chuntian wants to pursue my sister Nian Nian. What wishful thinking." This sentence was said casually, but He Yuanyue's expression suddenly became serious. "Is there such a thing?" Zuoshaoduo's heart skipped a beat. "Is there a problem?" "There is indeed such a thing," Zuoshaoduo said. He turned to Zuoshaonian and asked, "He didn't look for you again after that, right?" "How could he not?" Zuoshaonian seemed to be a little guilty and whispered, "No matter where I went these days, I would bump into him." Bump into him. Zuoshaoduo was jealous and said angrily, "Why didn't you tell me such a big thing happened?" Zuoshaonian rolled her eyes and said, "What's the use of telling you? What kind of big thing is this?" Zuoshaoduo was jealous and said, "Humph." Zuoshaonian rolled her eyes and suddenly smiled. "Are you angry?" "Humph. Why are you angry?" "Humph. Are you jealous?" "Who? I'm not jealous, you can do whatever you want, humph." "Fuck. Ha. Humph." Qin Fengyang, Mu Yanyan, He Yuanyue and Sister Lan, everyone had the subtle feeling of eating dog food until they were full. It was sweet and greasy but they just couldn't swallow it. It was stuck in their throats. The 2 of them were flirting with each other as if no one else was around. Seeing that the 2 of them were still exchanging flirtatious glances, one of them snorted proudly and rolled his eyes, while the other immediately snorted and rolled his eyes back. He snorted back and forth like this 7 or 8 times, but he still didn't get tired. Cough 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 cough. Qin Fengyang and Mu Yanyan coughed at the same time, as if they had a tacit understanding. Zuoshaonian came to her senses and blushed. "Little dog, how dare you embarrass me in front of everyone? I'll beat you to death when I get back. Just wait for your sister." Zuoshaoduo's expression didn't change. Boys were more thick-skinned than girls, not to mention Zuoshaoduo, who was known for his thick skin. He said righteously anyway, That Meng Chantian is not a good thing. Even He Yuanyue couldn't help but roll her eyes. You're like a little dog protecting its food. You've been jealous for a long time and then acted like there was no one else around. Now that you finally remembered what you wanted to do, you actually belittled your love rival as soon as you opened your mouth. However, this was really a big deal. Zhou Xiaoduo's words were right. He Yuanyue looked dignified and said, Teacher Mu, it seems that you have to pay more attention to the safety of your spiritual senses in the future. Mu Yinyan said, What do you mean? He Yuanyue sighed softly and said, I hope I'm gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. However, for this kind of thing you have to consider the worst first. Before thinking about the victory, you have to consider the defeat first. At this juncture, no matter how cautious you are, you can't go too far. Perhaps Xiao Duo is right. Meng Chantian is really not a good thing. His accidental encounter with spiritual senses is really a big deal. Mu Yinyan became more and more puzzled. Where did this come from? Let's start with the most sinister human heart and the worst plan. He Yuanyue looked at the rising sandalwood on the table and slowly said, We can basically be sure now that the Meng clan is coveting the soul of the Phoenix Pulse, and they're taking action. So for the Meng clan, the constitution of spiritual senses is no longer a secret. Mu Yinyan nodded slowly. This was an indisputable fact. There was nothing to say. Then spiritual senses are the fated master of the soul of the Phoenix Pulse. The Meng clan is naturally well aware of this. As we previously speculated, once spiritual senses successfully break through, they can truly bear the full power of the Phoenix Pulse. But if it's Meng Chenyu at most, she can only bear 30% of the power. So, if the Meng family really does have some considerations, plans, and even actions in this regard, and if their goal is to have Meng Chenyu replace her, then targeting Xiao Nian is a necessary part of this. Mu Yinyan, Zhou Xiaonian, and Zhou Xiaoduo all shivered at the same time. What do you mean? Actually, there is a secret method that can transfer the host. He Yuanyue seemed to find it difficult to speak. After thinking for a while, she said, The method I know of is called the Vitaline Soul Transfer. It is a very evil secret method. Vitaline Soul Transfer. Mu Yinyan could not help but scream. Her pretty face flushed red, and she angrily said, It's actually this evil method. Master, you know of this method? Zhou Xiaonian asked curiously. I've heard of it. Mu Yinyan sighed softly, but she could not help but hold Zhou Xiaonian in her arms to let her disciple feel at ease. Master will protect you. He Yuanyue also sighed softly. Yes, this is an extremely evil secret method. The Vitaline Soul Transfer is a method used to deal with talented, rare female geniuses. Because it's too wasteful to deal with ordinary people. The effect of this method is to transfer the body of the target female genius to another girl. But the highest effect of this method is only 30%. Because of this, there are not many people who use this method. Unless it involves great luck, great benefits, or the struggle of the great Tao, it's hard to see results. The disadvantages outweigh the advantages. To use the Vitaline Soul Transfer, several conditions must be met at the same time. None of them can be missing. Firstly, the target cannot be in a perfect state when performing the art. When the target is in a perfect state, his mind must at least be in turmoil before he can perform the art. If the target is in a state of extreme grief and his primordial spirit is wavering, the success rate will be doubled. Mu Yinyan and Zhou Xiaonian looked at each other. They both thought of Zhou Xiaoduo's inexplicable behavior, and the change in mentality of Zhou Xiaonian once Zhou Xiaoduo died. The hearts of the master and the disciple suddenly sank. Second, the transferred person and the transferred person can't be too far away from each other, and their cultivation can't be too different. Especially, the closer the aptitudes of the two are, the better. For example, it's best if they are from the same sect and practice the same martial arts. It's best if their aptitudes are similar. Third, the target of the technique must be a virgin. As the name suggests, the so-called Vitaline Soul Transfer is based on the fact that the target girl is a virgin and will lose her vital yin. After the technique is performed, the target girl will not only lose her vital yin, but also her vital soul. In the end, it will lead to the loss of consciousness, and she will completely become a walking corpse. Mu Yinyan's face was full of anger, and her eyes were cold. Zhou Xiaoduo asked curiously, How do you do it? He Yuanyue was a little embarrassed, and Mu Yinyan's face was full of shame and anger. After a long time, He Yuanyue said softly, using the man's vital yang as a guide, reversing the yin and yang, and copulating with the target girl. When the girl is most emotional, using the most extreme method to completely extract her vital yin. After that, using the same method, the seized vital yin and vital soul are injected into the body of the target. This is the whole process of the vital yin soul transfer. Although He Yuanyue was not young, she still felt embarrassed to talk about this evil secret technique in front of everyone, so she quickly explained it. Therefore, Zhuo Duo was still at a loss, scratching his head and rubbing his hands. Obviously, he did not understand what this operation was. Compared with Zhuo Xiaoduo's ignorance, Zhuo Xiaonian knew more, but she was still confused. She only knew that this technique was extremely evil and shameful, but she did not have a specific intuitive concept. Sister Lan He Yuanyue and Mu Yinyan were full of shame and anger. As for Qin Fengyang, his face was full of anger. If the Meng family really intended to do this, it was really intolerable, and death was not enough to be regretted. If the Meng family Meng Chentian really intended to do this, then Meng Chenyu must know it. When performing this technique, the other target needs to be completely awake and cooperate. He Yuanyue looked at Mu Yinyan, and the meaning of her words was self-evident. Mu Yinyan's face became more and more unsightly, and even became a little pale. She said perhaps yes. She remembered that since this year, Meng Chenyu had been trying to match Zhuo Xiaonian and Meng Chentian. She also remembered that Meng Chenyu had asked many times to go to Zhuo Xiaonian's house as a guest, but Zhuo Xiaonian had refused. In addition, she had invited her and Zhuo Xiaonian to go to the Meng family countless times, but she had never liked to socialize, and Zhuo Xiaonian was naturally wary of Meng Chentian, so they never went. Also during this time, Meng Chentian came to Chunyu building almost every day. Last night, Zhuo Xiaonian had said those words. The word fake still rang in her ears. Meng Chentian's feelings for me are definitely not real love. This was Zhuo Xiaonian's intuition. Not long after she said this, all the signs pointed in the direction that He Yuanyue had just said. Vitaline soul transfer. If Meng Chentian's plan is successful, after Xiaonian's death, Meng Chenyu will receive the power of the phoenix vein. She will be able to bear 50% or more of the power of the phoenix vein, which is half or more of the total power. Chapter 160. And this half doesn't include the part that rushed out. The extra 20% is from the 30% that Ning Qingcheng was supposed to take after the balance was broken. He Yuanyue said, in this way Ning Qingcheng can only take 10% of the power of the phoenix vein at most. So the Meng family can take 50% of the power of the phoenix vein. As for the remaining 40%, it will be taken by the Umno Alliance. If the Meng family is related to the Umno Alliance, or even the Umno Alliance placed a pawn in the astral souls, then it means that the Umno Alliance has 90% of the power of the phoenix vein. This is no different from the complete power of the phoenix vein. He Yuanyue said, of course, this is inferred from the worst, the darkest, and the worst way. Mu Yanyan said, then what about the better way? The better way is that the two love each other. Ling Nian marries Meng Chentian, and the Meng family directly has the genius Ling Nian, who is the natural candidate to inherit the power of the phoenix vein. That's about it. He Yuanyue said, Teacher Mu, what do you think? Mu Yinyan looked more and more depressed. This was clearly an impossible direction to take. Combining all the signs, the situation was already very obvious. Especially when the matter of Meng Chun Yu not saving Zhuo Xiaoduo had occurred earlier. Combined with the explanation of her soul being transferred to her primordial yin, everything seemed so logical and clear. She can't be in a perfect state. At least, her mind must be in turmoil. If the person is in extreme grief and the primordial spirit is in a state of drifting, the success rate will be doubled. If Zhuo Xiaoduo died, Zhuo Xiaonian would be in this state for a long time or even many years. This was an inevitable result without any consideration. Mu Yinyan looked up to the sky and let out a long sigh. Her eyes were full of pain. That girl whom he had watched grow up. That girl who seemed heartless and impulsive. That girl with short hair, delicate and neat. It was actually so evil? That little girl who always leaned on Zhuo Xiaonian and acted coquettishly, shamelessly pestering Zhuo Xiaonian, really had such vicious thoughts in her heart? She had personally pushed senior sister Nian, who she regarded as her own sister, into the abyss of eternal damnation? Even on the surface he could still act like he had no qualms about it? Why did he act so naturally? How could she talk and laugh so freely like a flower? The contradiction in Mu Yanyan's heart was hard to describe. It's getting late. Everyone go back and rest. He Yuanyue bowed slightly in her wheelchair. I'm counting on you for the things we talked about tonight. Mu Yanyan and Qin Fengyang's expressions were solemn as they returned the greeting at the same time. Of course. We will do our best. When they came out of He Yuanyue's office, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian were still in a daze. They only understood half of what was said, but the worry in their hearts had lessened by a lot. Zhuo Xiaoduo in particular was filled with excitement at this moment. Finally there was a goal to work hard for. Originally, he had no idea how Zhuo Xiaonian could survive this disaster. Could even be said that he didn't even have a direction to work hard for. He could only mess around. Zhuo Xiaoduo, who was at his wits' end, directly pinned his hopes on making the world chaotic so that no one would pay attention to Zhuo Xiaonian. But he was always groping in the dark like this. He had no idea at all. Who knew if he was groping correctly or wrongly? It was fine if he was right, but what if he was wrong? Wouldn't that make things worse? What if even that slim chance of survival was blocked? But now Zhuo Xiaoduo really only felt relaxed from the bottom of his heart. He had a direction. Phoenix Pulse Soul. Phoenix Pulse. As long as the hidden danger of Phoenix Pulse Soul was solved, everything would be fine. The UMNO Alliance, Ming's group, Ning's group, were difficult to deal with. In other words, they were harder to deal with than reaching the sky, but at least he knew the target. In other words, it was still harder than reaching the sky, but at least he knew that reaching the sky had to start from here. Was that right? With a target it would be easy to do. Phoenix Pulse. Ming's group. Ning's family. Just these three. Zhuo Xiaoduo inexplicably felt that a huge stone had been lifted from his heart. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Although this sigh of relief was lifted again, and a new stone was placed on his heart, he still felt that there was hope ahead. After all, the situation was clear. He just had to work hard and move forward. Xiaoduo, why do you look so happy? Zhuo Xiaonian was suspicious of Zhuo Xiaoduo's state. Did she see wrongly? There were so many powerful enemies listed all of a sudden, and there was also the UMNO Alliance hidden in the dark. Why was this kid so happy? Even if he was heartless, he shouldn't be like this, right? When there were outsiders around, Zhuo Xiaonian would never call Zhuo Xiaoduo doggy, as long as it was not in front of her parents. That was a term that only belonged to her family. If outsiders heard it, they would definitely laugh at doggy. Men still cared about their reputation, especially in front of outsiders. Of course, Zhuo Xiaoduo had a rare serious look on his face. He smiled with some satisfaction and said, Sister Nian Nian, have you noticed that our days are actually getting better and better, more comfortable? And more and more, more and more? These words made Mu Yanyan, who was walking with them, directly roll her eyes. You really dare to say that? Now it was clear that every step was life and death, and every step was dangerous. The Ming family, the Ning family, the UMNO Alliance, the Phoenix Pulse. One by one, the dead knot was hanging around their necks. Any one of them, once pulled, would immediately hang by the neck and die. There was no way to save them. Even Mu Yanyan felt that the future was bleak, and she was quite helpless. Why was this kid still bragging here, saying that things were getting better and better, more comfortable? And more and more? Mu Yanyan almost wanted to ask, what is your goal? But what Mu Yanyan did not expect was that Zhuo Xiaonian actually agreed with these words. She kept nodding her little head and said, yes, yes. Mu Yanyan was speechless. You two are really a pair made in heaven. Zhuo Xiaonian said with some emotion, at first you couldn't cultivate, but now you can. At first I was doomed to die. But now there are so many people willing to help us with all their hearts. Even the hidden mastermind behind the scenes has shown himself. We have a goal and hope. I really feel that our days are getting better and better. Zhuo Xiaoduo sighed softly. At this moment, in the eyes of Zhuo Xiaonian, Zhuo Xiaoduo was as mature as her father, Zhuo Chonglu. Zhuo Xiaoduo said, although the road ahead is still difficult, and life and death are at stake, who dares to say that we will definitely lose? Everything has to be done to know the result. It will not be so easy for the Meng family and the Ning family to succeed in the UMNO alliance. He turned his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaonian with a warm smile. Sister Nianyan, I am here. Zhuo Xiaonian was stunned for a moment. She only felt that her nose was sour and she wanted to cry. Looking at Zhuo Xiaoduo in front of her, who was half a head taller than her, and his thin shoulders clearly gave her a subtle feeling that he was carrying the wind and rain for her. It was an extreme sense of security and ease of mind. In an instant, Zhuo Xiaonian felt that her whole heart was suddenly warmed. Yes. Zhuo Xiaonian nodded hard and pursed her lips and tried to smile. Yes, sister has Xiaoduo. Mu Yinyan sighed. She wanted to say, what's the use of having Xiaoduo? He was just a little rascal who was as weak as a chicken. But she couldn't describe the feeling of having a mouthful of dog food. Qin Fengyang quietly returned to his dormitory. He simply treated his wounds and murmured, the Meng family? The Ning family? Feeling his weary body, he muttered, looks like I won't be able to make it tonight. Well, tomorrow I will go to Zhuo Xiaoduo to discuss countermeasures. Let's see if the number of providence can be changed and how to change it. He pursed his lips and gently exhaled, blowing his hair on his forehead. His eyes shone with a fierce light. But, no matter what, the Meng family and the Ning family actually took advantage of Qianqian's good intentions. They are simply insane and infuriating. Even if I, Qin Fengyang, didn't do it for the Phoenix vein, I will not forgive you. When Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian returned home, it was already 3:30 in the morning. At this time the rain was still pouring. The two rainstorms, one after the other, were astonishing. It was rare in 100 years. It was estimated that the roads of Phoenix City would be difficult tomorrow. Don't you want to come in? Zhuo Xiaoduo opened his door and unconsciously invited her as usual. Zhuo Xiaonian bit her lips. Her eyes darted around and glanced at him. For a moment she looked a little flustered. She snorted and turned away. Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaonian's back. He was puzzled. What? I didn't make her angry on the way here, but now that Zhuo Xiaonian was gone, Zhuo Xiaoduo could calm down and think about it. So he closed the door. Bang! Zhuo Xiaonian heard the door slam behind her. She could not help but bite her lips. Anger rose in her heart. This guy is really an idiot. If I really want to leave, can't I fly? Idiot! She stomped her feet and flew away with a whoosh. The Phoenix vein is rushing to the soul. The dragon vein is already rushing to the sky. The feng shui trend is favorable to us. But strictly speaking, this trend does not provide any substantial help. At most, it will separate the forces of the enemy and us more clearly. Our comprehensive strength is still relatively inferior, and the gap is huge. Zhuo Xiaoduo lay on the bed. He put his hands behind his head and crossed his legs. He was deep in thought. The UMNO alliance wants the power of the Phoenix vein. The Ning family and the Meng family also want the power of the Phoenix vein. Now I don't have to take one step at a time. I can target these three families. According to the old principal's instructions, the UMNO alliance is at least cooperating with one of these two families? Then which one was it? The Ning family is a family with 1,000 years of martial arts inheritance. They have a deep foundation and their own family culture. From this point alone, the possibility of the Ning family colluding with the UMNO alliance is not high. Although the possibility of colluding is not high, it does not mean that there is no connection. So, the Ning family is not a good person. Chapter 161. If it's not the Ning family, then it must be the Meng family. Not to mention, the Meng family's behavior is so crazy. They already set up a vicious plan for Nian Nian Cat. That Meng Chenyu girl must know about it. She's not a good person. I can't find the UMNO alliance. There's nothing I can do. I can't figure out the Ning family. It's better not to act rashly. Then I'll focus on the Meng family for now. Pick the weakest persimmon first. Zhuo Xiaoduo eliminated them one by one. In the end, he found out that the Meng family group, which was known as the richest family in Phoenix City and had businesses all over the world, was actually the easiest to deal with among all the enemies. Of course, this was the easiest to deal with, but there was another relatively easy to deal with. Money could enslave ghosts, but it could also connect gods. The power of money had been fully demonstrated in the matter of Shan Yushu targeting Qin Fangyang. It could not be ignored. I have luck points now. It's only 5:30. 3 points have been used. Nian Nian Cat has 2 points and Mu Yan Yan has 1 point. If the used points are counted, then I only need 2 more points to level up. Once I break through and level up, I believe it will be very beneficial to the current situation. But what if the used points are not counted? There's no fucking manual. No, I can't not consider this possibility. But no matter what, these points will be used in the end. Meng Chenyu, Meng Chentian, Meng Tianyue, these people need to be checked. And the people of the Ning family. If I can see Ning Qingcheng, that would be even better. There are too many enemies. I don't have enough points. Aura observation technique is a very useful auxiliary skill. I must master it as soon as possible. There are so many things. Zhuoxiao Duo could not help but sigh. But the greatest advantage we have right now is everything, all the enemies, all the experts on our side, all the schemes. There is only one central point, and that is the Phoenix Pulse Spirit, everyone's target, the focal point. Similarly, there is only one key person, and that is Nian Nian Cat. Nian Nian Cat is now the center of everyone's attention. If I'm not wrong, unless Miss Nian Cat is being carried around by Teacher Mu like last night, there will be people following her no matter where she goes. The Meng clan won't be reassured about the Phoenix Pulse Soul, the Ning clan won't be reassured, and the Umno Alliance won't be reassured either. Now that the old principal knows about the situation, he will definitely be even more worried. Nian Nian Cat is so cool now. Zhuoxiao Duo heaved a long sigh. You have the attention of both the righteous and evil paths, 2 continents, a large financial group, a large aristocratic family, and 2 super sections. Let's not think about it anymore. I'll go to sleep and rest up. Tomorrow I'll start with the aura examination technique and see if I can come up with any ideas. That night, there was another person who didn't sleep at all, Zhang Zhongbin. Chief Zhang had almost pulled out all his remaining hair. On the paper in front of him there were a few messy names. Mu Yanyan, Qin Fangyang, Sister Lan, Zhang Zhongbin, and 3 other names. As Zhang Zhongbin looked at it, he suddenly became furious. He grabbed the paper and crumpled it into a ball, cursing loudly, "What the fuck? Phoenix City is so big, and there are so many people that I can trust and use, but there are only these few people. What can I do with these few people? And most of them aren't even my people. Once something happens, they won't listen to my orders at all. What the fuck?" He paced back and forth in the room like a trapped beast, his face full of anxiety. In the end, he simply smashed all the pieces of paper into ashes and strode out of the door. At this time, the sky was already slightly bright. "Chief, yes, I have to go out for something. I'll be gone for about 2 days. Don't call me during these 2 days. Even if you have something, send me a message. May I know where you're going? It's none of your business." Zhang Zhongbin was now in a delicate state where everyone was an enemy. Hearing this, he immediately became furious. "Do I need to report to you where I'm going? Who are you? Who are you? You're so fucking concerned about my whereabouts. I think you're a spy." The secretary's eyes bulged. He was so shocked that he almost peed in his pants. "I know you don't like anyone these days, but I just asked a question and you're calling me a spy? And as a secretary, shouldn't I know where the leader goes? Otherwise, would I still be a secretary? What should I say if others ask? You have to explain this, right? You're the chief. How many things are going on in the bureau every day? Without you, even if things don't stop, there will be many things that can't be carried out. But at this time Zhang Zhongbin was in a fit of anger. The secretary, who knew him very well, could only hang his head and look aggrieved and scared. He didn't dare to say a word. "Behave yourself." Zhang Zhongbin looked around suspiciously. "I'll deal with you when I come back." Before his voice died away, he soared into the sky. His black cloak fluttered in the night sky, and he disappeared high up in the sky. He actually changed direction several times before he left. The secretary felt more and more aggrieved. He didn't even want me to know which direction he was going. Is there a secretary as aggrieved as me? Zhang Zhongbin flew all the way to the sky. He flew all the way to the left side of Mount Phoenix Tail. After confirming the situation of the mountain being burned, he immediately turned towards the direction of Antai City. But on the way, he randomly entered a village and immediately changed his appearance. Sticking close to the ground, he scuttled into the forest and went all the way to Nanji City. I can't make a phone call, so I'll go there personally. Dragon Blood Squad, if you don't give me a few people this time, I'll show my identity and strip dance in front of Starshield. Yes, the chief of Starshield will strip dance in front of Starshield headquarters. Let's see who will lose face in the end. As long as you're not afraid of losing face, I'll go all out. I'm a fucking bachelor. Who am I afraid of? Early the next morning, Zuo finished his meal an hour earlier. He dashed out of the house like a wisp of smoke and went to school in a hurry. He went straight to Qin Fengyang's dormitory and knocked on the door. What's the matter? Qin Fengyang opened the door impatiently. I stayed up until 4:30 last night. Did you know that? Well, I don't have enough mental strength. Zuo took out the Qi examination technique's general outline jade slip that he Yuanyue had asked Sister Lan to engrave for him. With a smile on his face, he said, Teacher Qin, I'll have to trouble you to record all the contents of this thing into my mind. He Yuanyue had specially instructed Sister Lan to make this jade bamboo slip. She had originally intended for Zuo to practice until he had reached the embryonic breathing realm before he could immerse himself in learning it with his deific consciousness. However, Zuo couldn't wait any longer. Even though he knew that the content of this jade bamboo slip was definitely not small, he had learned from Uncle Nan's previous experience of imparting the flaming sun scripture to him. Reach the embryonic breathing realm. How could he wait? With an expert like Qin Fengyang by his side, it would be a waste not to use him. So Zuo went to look for Qin Fengyang. Qin Fengyang's eyes widened. Fuck you. Record it into your head? That would be the fucking enlightenment technique. Was this a trick that could be used casually? I know how to do that. However, you're just a little martial master. If I were to imbue you with my power, your head would explode if you couldn't handle it. At least that would be the end of it. However, what if you turned into an idiot? What should I do then? Hurry up, I don't have time to hesitate now. Zuo held the jade slip and urged recklessly. Qin Fengyang was speechless. You bastard brat, your knowledge is shallow. How would you know the difficulties and dangers of this? This jade inscription can only be used when one has reached the embryonic breathing realm. Empowerment also requires one to have at least the cultivation of the embryonic breathing realm to be able to be empowered. You are now 2 whole realms away, so how can I empower you? Zuo's face was full of disdain. If you can't do it, just say so. Can you not fool me? I've already been through enlightenment technique once. How could I not know the reason behind it? What? You've already been through enlightenment technique once? Qin Fengyang's eyes widened. Who gave you enlightenment technique? No, there was such a powerful person in Phoenix City. Giving enlightenment technique to a martial arts master? Furthermore, nothing happened to him? Anyway, Qin Fengyang felt that he definitely couldn't do it. Zuo hesitated for a while and said, It was an uncle with the surname Nan. He knocked me out and gave me enlightenment technique. Sigh. Just thinking about it makes me angry. Zuo recalled the day when he wanted to speak but was interrupted and then knocked unconscious. When he woke up, he was already gone. Zuo was furious. If Uncle Nan had stayed here, his ability would have been enough to intimidate everyone, right? He would have killed whoever he wanted, and there wouldn't have been so much trouble today. Qin Fengyang was even more shocked. Knocked out enlightenment technique? Fuck. Why don't you go to heaven? As a high-level cultivator, he knew the pros and cons of this. The difference between enlightenment technique, where the person opened up all his deified knowledge and cooperated wholeheartedly, and enlightenment technique after being knocked out, was huge. No, the two couldn't be compared at all. Saying that the difference was like heaven and earth was not enough to describe it. This Uncle Nan. Huh? Uncle Nan. Qin Fengyang suddenly remembered the strange little flying dagger that he saw that day. Looking at Zuo again, his gaze was a little strange. No wonder. Since you've already undergone enlightenment technique once, your deified knowledge sea has already opened? Qin Fengyang nodded. There won't be any obstacles, and you can directly transmit the contents of the jade slip. In his heart, he added, especially when he was unconscious the last time, there should be no problem. I guess that person added an extra layer of insurance when he enlightenment technique for you. But this Wuxiao duo could actually be related to such a powerful person? That's really awesome. It's like a girl taking off her pants, not simple at all. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but ask, your Uncle Nan, what's his relationship with your family? Wuxiao duo thought for a long time and said, he should be my father's creditor? Creditor? What the hell creditor? Qin Fengyang almost cursed it out loud. Who in the whole continent dared to owe that person anything? It was simply ... If he didn't want to say it, then don't say it. Hurry up and get in here. Qin Fengyang scolded angrily, and slaps Wuxiao duo into the door, making him kneel. Chapter 162. Wuxiao duo rubbed the back of his head, feeling extremely depressed. You hit me when you're happy, when you're unhappy, when you're depressed, and when you're excited. Now when I see you hitting me on the back of my head, I feel like a basketball superstar hitting a basketball. Can I change this habit? Master Xiao duo is now considered a big shot in Phoenix City. Sit cross-legged and face up. Qin Fengyang's face darkened. Okay. Wuxiao duo asked, 5 hearts facing the sky? What do you mean? Slap. Is the palm a heart? Slap. Is the sole of the foot a heart? Slap. Do it. What about the other heart? Is it the heart? It's the top of your head, the top of your head. Sit down. If you talk again, I'll beat you. Shda. Wuxiao duo immediately shut up and did not say a word. Don't think about anything. Qin Fengyang woke up just as he was about to move. He called to ask for leave and locked the door. Then he pressed Wuxiao duo on his bed and started. After a long time, Qin Fengyang let out a long sigh of relief and got out of bed. He was sweating all over and his vitality was greatly depleted. He wiped his sweat and murmured, how can this kid's divine sense be so strong? Even if he's at the peak of the martial master realm, he still hasn't reached the point of opening the sea of consciousness under normal circumstances. How can he reach such a level? What a freak. And his meridians, aren't they too wide? After repeatedly experiencing the strength of Wuxiao's body and the wonderful condition of his body, Qin Fengyang looked at Wuxiao duo, who was still immersed in the process. He was amazed and full of doubts. My sister's Wuxiaonian is the spiritual thought goddess. Her talent is ridiculously good. Previously, I always thought that as the chosen one of the Phoenix Pulse Soul, it was reasonable for her to have good talent. However, after seeing Wuxiaonua, I realized that he is also a rare genius. If it is just a coincidence, his parents are just ordinary people, but Nan is actually his father's creditor? That was definitely not the right way to put it. A more appropriate way to put it was that they were old acquaintances. But how could there be an ordinary person who knows and has a relationship with that person? This family, from the old to the young, is full of weirdness. Qin Fengyang was truly puzzled. He had seen Zhuo Chonglu and his wife before. He had also probed them many times. He was absolutely certain that they were ordinary people. Their physique was at most equivalent to a martial warrior. Is it possible for 2 middle-aged people to have the physique of a warrior to give birth to a genius like Wuxiao duo? Qin Fengyang felt that his understanding was being overturned again and again. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that something was wrong. After a while, Wuxiao duo woke up. After the enlightenment, a certain someone stood up dizzily. His body suddenly swayed and he sat back down on the bed. For a moment he only felt that the world was spinning, and countless pieces of knowledge were fighting in his mind. After calming himself down, he still felt dizzy. He struggled to get off the bed and staggered out of the room. Where are you going? I'm going to the gravity room. You're silly. Rest for a while before you go. It's okay. I know what I'm doing. Dong. Wuxiao duo bumped into a big tree on the side of the door. Immediately, he lay on the ground with his 4 limbs spread out. His eyes rolled back and he looked around blankly. I told you to rest. Didn't you hear me? You know what you're doing? Damn it. It's not that I don't want to rest. But there are only 50 days left. There's no time. Wuxiao duo muttered to himself. His eyes were misty as he struggled to stand up. He staggered a few steps before he found the faucet and turned it on. He stuck his head under the faucet and the water splashed onto his head. Then he simply sat under the faucet. He let the faucet wash over his body. Slowly, Zuo finally felt his consciousness, which had been shattered by the impact, return little by little. From the state of the Big Bang, it recovered bit by bit, returning to the blue sky and white clouds, returning to the clear and boundless sky. That dizziness was fading away bit by bit. Qin Fangyang's expression changed. He looked at Zuo and did not speak for a long time. He had seen Zuo walk step by step to where he was now with his own eyes. This seemingly slippery, greedy, stingy, and miserly guy had actually been working hard all this time. Originally, Qin Fangyang thought that Zuo had the heart of a strong person. However, this kid stirred up trouble and pulled out countless things like pulling out the ends of a thread. With his weak, ant-like strength, he pulled out the ends of the thread one by one, exposing the whole matter to the eyes of the people involved. This was no longer a simple heart of a strong person. He was doing what he wanted with a purpose. Until last night, Qin Fangyang finally knew that everything he did was for his sister, Zuo. And last night, everything was almost completely clear. However, who knew how much credit Zuo had contributed to this? He Yuanyue and the others had worked hard for decades, but could not uncover the matter. They had investigated for decades, but could not find anything. Under Zuo's desperate efforts, he finally floated to the surface of the water. And just last night, all of the enemies had shown their full strength. Along the way, many things had made Qin Fangyang gasp in amazement. This kid really did not have it easy. Almost every moment, it was as if he was dancing on a tightrope of a bottomless cliff. If he was not careful, he would be smashed to pieces. However, not only did he do it, he did it over and over again. He also kept pushing the difficulty level up to play tricks. Looking at Zuo being washed under the faucet, Qin Fangyang did not try to persuade him anymore. He did not say anything. Everyone has something that they want to protect. Everyone has their own limits, Yi Zichen said. Kid, hang in there. 15 minutes later, Zuo finally felt that the uncomfortable feeling in his mind, like the Big Bang, had finally receded. In its place there were pages of aura observation technique secret techniques. There were so many of them that he did not know how many there were. There were countless people's works and countless people's insights. Zuo had already begun to feel fear after browsing through it once. He originally thought that he Yuanyue had only given him a book. Now it seemed that this was not a book at all. This was clearly all the knowledge and applications related to aura observation technique that he Yuanyue had collected in her lifetime. Even some classic and representative cases were included in it. He Yuanyue probably felt that it was useful, so she stuffed it all in. At a rough estimate, there were millions of words of content. It could be said that even he Yuanyue herself was far from mastering it. After all, it was impossible for an ordinary person to hold such a huge amount of knowledge. Now, all of these were stuffed into Zuo's head in one breath. It was already a huge miracle that his head didn't explode. Done. Done. Holding his still wooden head, Zuo slowly stood up. His whole body was dripping with water. For some reason, Zuo's spirit was restless. When a tree came into view, his first thought was to look at the tree's atmosphere. When he saw a blade of grass, he instinctively looked at it. Even when he saw Qin Fangyang, he instinctively looked at him. But when he took a look, he discovered something incredible. Teacher Qin. Zuo frowned. How did you consume so much of your body, cultivation, consciousness, and especially your foundation during this period of time? Qin Fangyang in front of him was like a huge candle, burning himself in a way that he had never seen before. Although the light was dazzling in this state, it was true that every moment he burned, his foundation would be damaged. And this damage was permanent, the kind that was difficult to recover. Qin Fangyang was stunned for a moment. He said lightly, I've been fighting continuously for the past few days. It's inevitable that I'm exhausted. I'm afraid you've forgotten what my greatest ability is. You're not simply exhausted from fighting. Zuo shook his head. Teacher Qin, if you continue like this, you'll be exhausted. It doesn't matter. Qin Fangyang was unusually calm, but there was another kind of indifference that was different from his usual indifference. Zuo knew that he couldn't persuade Qin Fangyang. He could also see where Qin Fangyang's losses went. Right now he was like a gardener who worked his heart out, pouring all of his cultivation, all of his comprehensions, and all of his sword heart into teaching the students. He focused all of his mind and dispersed it bit by bit to all of his students. The focus was on himself, Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing, Yu Moyan, Li Changming, and Wan Li Xiu. Passing the torch to the end, Zhuo Duo suddenly had a realization in his heart. Qin Fengyang must have realized that He Yuanyue's lifespan wouldn't be long. He didn't want to continue searching for her, and he didn't want to continue enduring the loneliness alone. Perhaps Qin Fengyang originally had many ideas such as the Sun-Moon Pass, the military fighting and guarding. But the current Qin Fengyang had changed a lot. The current Qin Fengyang should be planning to follow He Yuanyue when she passed away. However, he also felt that it was a pity to give up his cultivation. Therefore, he chose to pass it on to his students in this way, including his heart, mind, and soul. This was also the reason why he was able to wake up so quickly just now. Qin Fengyang was using his own spiritual force to nourish his own soul. Zhuo Duo sighed softly. What should he do about this? He quickly made up his mind. He stood up and was about to leave. He couldn't stay by teacher Qin's side any longer. The longer he stayed, the more Qin Fengyang would have to pay. In other words, the faster he would die. Where are you going? The gravity room. I go ahead. Looking at Zhuo back, Qin Fengyang narrowed his eyes and suddenly said, Zhuo. Yes. I'm fine. Don't talk nonsense. I know. Zhuo Duo looked back. He saw Qin Fengyang's deep gaze, his face solemn. He actually felt his heart sink. A deep sadness suddenly welled up in his heart. Ask the world what is love. Even a person like Qin Fengyang would go crazy over her. Oh. Chapter 163. Zhuo Duo stepped into the gravity room. This morning he exchanged for 4 hours of cultivation time in one go. While he was training, he was trying to digest the vast knowledge that had just entered his mind. He was training hard and absorbing the knowledge in a way that was close to exhaustion. He was comparing everything related to the aura examination technique in his mind and integrating them bit by bit. Zhuo Duo was squeezing himself as hard as he could. He wanted to master the knowledge that an ordinary person would take a lifetime to accumulate in the shortest amount of time. Even so, he still felt that it was not enough. He wanted to master all of it in 1 minute. There was not much time left. 50 days. There were only 50 days left. Noon 12 o'clock. Zhuo Duo was soaked in sweat from head to toe. He crawled out of the gravity room as if he had just come out of a swimming pool. At this moment, Zhuo Duo didn't even have the strength to walk out of the gravity room. Noon. Zhuo Duo only spent 5 minutes to finish his meal. Then he rushed into the gravity room again. It was a race against time, a race against time. This time Zhuo Duo exchanged 6 hours of training time. Qin Fengyang stood at the door of the gravity room. His eyes were deep. Is he okay? He asked the teacher who was in charge of the gravity room. He's fine. I thought something bad would happen. The teacher's face was full of admiration. I've been in charge of the gravity room for 27 years. I've never seen a student who is so desperate. Yesterday, he was only training his fists and feet. After overexerting himself, he became paralyzed from exhaustion. Similar situations are not rare. But 2 consecutive days of high-intensity training like this will definitely put a great burden on the body. I've been paying attention to your student's condition. If there's any problem, I'll come to his aid. In the past, he didn't have enough control over his own condition. There were many problems that occurred when he forced himself to train. The teacher paused for a moment before continuing. But not only is your student's willpower outstanding, his physical fitness and cultivation foundation are even stronger than many people. Since 11 o'clock this morning, he has already begun to jump and perform the starry sky steps under 5 times the gravity. In the last hour, he was already able to use it flexibly and freely. Moreover, he was able to combine the 3 martial arts of the Kunlun Taoist sect and practice it in the void to the greatest extent. Such progress has already made me gasp in amazement. Yes. During the afternoon practice, he even closed his eyes and practiced the whole time. Other than the slight obstruction at the beginning, he quickly got the hang of it and returned to the state of being extremely familiar with it. All right. According to this progress, if he comes again tomorrow, we can try to add some weight to his body. How much weight do you think is appropriate? That depends on one's physique. I can see that this student of yours is quite talented. 10 to 20 kilograms isn't very suitable for an ordinary martial master. But don't add too much either. I recommend about 100 kilograms. Qin Fengyang nodded slowly. I'll prepare it. All right. The teacher said softly. This is really a good seedling. Teacher Qin, you should properly advise this child. It's a good thing to train hard, but he shouldn't work too hard. It's not good if he really becomes a cripple. I'm looking forward to when this child grows up. I believe that by then, Second High will be proud of him. Understood. In the other gravity rooms, Li Chenglong and the others were also sweating profusely. Obviously, Zhuoxiao's hard work had greatly stimulated them. Don't let Zhuo fall too far behind. Wan Lixio was sweating profusely in the gravity room. Every time she was about to collapse, she would shout this sentence. Keep up. Keep up. The sweat on Long Yuxing's body converged into a small stream. Train. Train to death. Yuemo Yen tossed and turned, trying his best to train every part of his body's resistance to attacks. No matter what, you have to hold on. Li Chenglong was furious. At the very least, when Zhuo hits me again, I have to hit his hand. The last gravity room. No matter what, I can't fall behind. Huff. 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 In the gravity room, Li Zhongming fell into a deep sleep on the astral souls array that he set up. As he fell asleep, the white mist produced by the jade of astral souls enveloped Li Changming's entire body. The white mist was then absorbed by the jade of astral souls. The cycle repeated endlessly. It's not just this child who came yesterday. The other 5 children are also the best of the best. The teacher who was guarding the gravity room looked over and was even a little envious. Teacher Qin, you're really lucky. A person who had 6 talented students with a bright future. Such a teacher was destined to go down in history. As a teacher, if this wasn't a good fortune, then what was? Good fortune. Qin Fengyang was in a daze. He muttered to himself, this kind of fortune is of course good fortune. In order to live up to this good fortune, I have to be more careful and conscientious. When it was time for school to end in the afternoon, Zhuoxiao's body was as soft as noodles. He was almost twitching as he slowly moved to the door of the gravity room. He knocked on the door twice with his hand and then lay on the ground motionless. The door opened. Qin Fengyang grabbed Zhuoxiao's hair and dragged him out like a dead dog. He didn't know if it was because he felt uncomfortable, but he tied a rope around Zhuoxiao's wrist and dragged him out just like that. The teacher in charge of the gravity room was dumbfounded. Was he pulling a sled? Was he not a genius? Was he the student that he was the most proud of? He watched helplessly as Qin Fengyang went to the other gravity rooms and opened the doors. He then dragged out the students one by one and tied them with ropes. In the end, there were 6 of them. Then, he dragged them away like a hunter who had hunted a few rabbits. Fuck! The teacher was stunned. He was filled with righteous indignation. If you don't want this kind of student, then give him to me. This kind of genius, this kind of choice, not to mention protecting him, but to treat him so rudely. No, this is simply torture. I'm convinced. After dragging them for more than 30 meters and passing through a few stairs, they woke up almost at the same time. They shouted, Teacher Qin, we can walk on our own. Put them down. Fuck, they are tied up like a bunch of grasshoppers. Qin Fengyang stopped in his tracks. With a flick of his hand, the few fellows fell to the ground. They hurriedly untied the ropes on their own. It was another round of work, and each of them kept rolling their eyes. They had never seen a teacher like this. He strung his own students up like a bunch of grasshoppers and dragged them away. Wan Lixio was the most aggrieved. I'm a beauty. Now my image is gone. Long Yuxing was more open-minded. He didn't care about Wan Lixio's image. Then he was chased by Wan Lixio. Who asked you to care? Who asked you to care? Sleeping in the gravity room? No, the effect of cultivating the Great Dream Divine technique is really hard to explain. Li Zhongming said sadly. His ancestral Great Dream Divine art required him to be in a sleeping state to cultivate. However, after cultivating the Great Dream Divine art in the gravity room for a long time, His limbs were still sore and his entire body felt like noodles. Now that he wasn't dragged by Qin Fengyang, he lost his footing and leaned on Li Chenglong like a little bird. He had no choice. If he didn't find a new footing, he couldn't even stand up. But the progress is still very good. After school, Qin Fengyang was waiting for Zhou Xiaoduo like yesterday. "I'll send you home." Zhou Xiaoduo asked curiously, "Teacher Qin, what did you experience last night?" "It's just something that martial cultivators experience. I don't know if that Shanghai has given up." Qin Fengyang said indifferently, "Let's see what happens today. If it still doesn't work, I'll take the initiative to talk to him." "How many families are involved?" "3 families. Qin Fengyang took a deep breath and said, "There were a total of 6 families involved in the incident. Although 3 of them were very agitated at the time, they did not participate in the hunt organized by Shen Yushu. Of the other 2 families who acted together with Shen Yushu, only one of them offered a reward of 50 million. Shen Yushu paid the bulk of the reward." "Awesome, he's so rich." Zhou Xiaoduo expressed his envy. "Sigh, Teacher Qin's head is really worth a lot." "No, I can't think like that. I have to respect my teacher. I'm a good student. I have to protect Teacher Qin's head. It's more than 1 billion. Protecting something that's worth more than 1 billion, even if I don't get the money, I still have a sense of accomplishment." But they were already halfway there, and still no one came to attack them. This situation made Zhou Xiaoduo feel very puzzled. "Teacher Qin, they couldn't have given up, right?" "They won't." Qin Fengyang said seriously, "Shen Yushu, as one of the richest people in Phoenix City, he won't give up just because of his pride. I understand the mentality of this kind of person who thinks he's awesome but is actually a frog in a well. He's not making a move now only because he knows that I'm not easy to kill, so he's thinking of other ways. Don't worry, this Shen Yushu, I'll get rid of him no matter what." Qin Fengyang sighed twice and said, "Forget about the other families. Their children that they painstakingly raised are gone, so it's reasonable for them to curse. Oh right, I saw the reward this morning. Other than Shen Yushu, the other 2 families have already announced that they're withdrawing from this mission. Since they're withdrawing, then forget about it." Qin Fengyang said leisurely, "Actually, I can really understand. Anyone who loses their son would feel terrible, and they have no way to vent. In a moment of anger, they came looking for me, the person directly involved, to take revenge and vent their anger. Although it's not right, it's also understandable. Besides, the old principal didn't let me pursue the matter." Qin Fengyang said regretfully. From his tone, it wasn't that he didn't want to pursue the matter, but that Yuanyue had stopped him. Chapter 164. Zhou Xiaoduo said, "By the way, I used the aura examination technique today, but there are many things I don't understand. I'm going to make an appointment with Grandma He tomorrow." Qin Fengyang said cheerfully, "I'll make an appointment for you." Yes. Zhou Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "Teacher Qin, are you all right now?" Qin Fengyang looked vigilant. "Are you all right, kid?" Zhou Xiaoduo immediately put on an obedient and cute look and said, "Teacher Qin, I've only just started using the aura examination technique today. Why don't you take me to fly again? I want to see the whole picture of the Phoenix vein again. I also want to see the address of the Meng Group's headquarters and the Ning family's graveyard." Qin Fengyang frowned and looked at Zhou Xiaoduo suspiciously. "I can fly you and take you to see the landscape, but at this time, isn't it a little too early?" Zhou Xiaoduo grabbed Qin Fengyang's sleeve and shook it. He actually said coquettishly, "Teacher Qin, take me to see it." Qin Fengyang's face turned pale and goosebumps appeared all over his body. He hurriedly shook off his hand and said with a pale face, "I'll see it." "Don't talk to me like that. Just tell me where you want to see it. Hurry up and tell me." Qin Fengyang urged him angrily. This kid's coquettish voice just now was too scary. Even Qin Fengyang, who had a profound cultivation base, was almost scared out of his wits by this kid's voice. "Let's take a look at the landscape first. Take a look around and be careful to fly higher. Then I'll decide whether to go to the Ming Group or the Ning Group." "Okay, let's go." Qin Fengyang grabbed Zhou Xiaoduo by the collar and flew into the sky. "Teacher Qin, can you grab somewhere else?" Zhou Xiaoduo felt extremely uncomfortable. This kind of experience of being grabbed by the neck and sent flying was actually happening again. Qin Fengyang turned a deaf ear. Who told you to disgust me? How could I let go of such a good opportunity to take revenge? I'll hold him for a while longer. With a single leap, he soared to a height of 30,000 feet, piercing through the clouds. It's too high. Zhuo Duo looked miserable. My vision is blocked by the clouds. Lower down, lower down. What's there to be afraid of? It's nothing to be surprised about. Qin Fengyang snorted. As the saying goes, when you climb high you can see far. If you're not high enough, do you think you can see everything? Do you think it's still as nice as last night? After saying that, Teacher Qin suddenly took a deep breath. Then he waved his empty right hand. His right sleeve fluttered in the wind, and a sudden gust of wind blew out. High up in the sky, the wind and clouds instantly surged. The momentum of the wind and clouds swirling around condensed in front of him. In front of Zhuo's shocked eyes, the clouds under his feet rolled away along with the hurricane. In the blink of an eye, a space with a circumference of several tens of thousands of feet appeared. There wasn't a trace of clouds in sight, and it was a panoramic view of the earth. You'll have to wait for a while if you go any further. Qin Fengyang said, if that's not enough, I'll just do it a few more times. It's still early anyway. It's enough, it's enough. Zhuo Duo started to stammer. His eyes lit up as he looked at Qin Fengyang. He thought to himself, looks like Teacher Qin is quite fierce. He's not as weak as I thought. Why don't I give him some face and consider adding him to Nian Cat's group of guardians again? I wonder if Teacher Qin will leave the north and south to beat things up if he finds out about this? No, it should be that he'll lift him up by the collar and beat him up. It's so hard for me. I'll take some time to change my name. Looking down from above, the panoramic view of Phoenix City came into view. In the north there were mountains. In the continuous mountain range, there was only one mountain peak that protruded high. That was the Phoenix turning its head. Well, it had changed now. Only the back of its head could be seen. Rather than saying that it was the Phoenix turning its head, it was more accurate to say that it was the Phoenix raising its head. In the east and west there were continuous green mountains. They gradually rose from flat to tall, forming a continuous mountain range. Although the southernmost Phoenix Tail Mountain had turned into a piece of scorched earth, one could still see its protruding shape. From the mountain in the west there was a continuous river flowing down. It passed through Phoenix City and flowed east. It was like a jade belt, sparkling and clear, endless. In Phoenix City there was a large lake in the east and west. They were like two bright pearls, dazzling and eye-catching. Inside the city, there were many tall buildings and green trees. Outside the city, there were towering trees and pavilions. As far as the eye could see, there were green mountains and clear water. It was really a blessed land. The entire Phoenix City was like a huge basin. Last night, when Zhuo Duo was looking at it, he had some preconceived notions and did not think much of it. However, after a night's difference, Zhuo's attainments in qi divination were completely different from last night's. Furthermore, when he looked at it now, the position, height, and point of view were completely different from last night's. As he thought about it, he exclaimed, "What a treasure bowl! Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 5 elements are complete, and the 5 elements are in accordance with each other. It is like a cycle of reincarnation, interlocking with each other and not messing up at all. What a good place! It is indeed the beauty of a place with outstanding people." Zhuo Duo frowned and looked at the city. The only eyesore is the tallest building. No matter the direction, position, height, it makes people feel awkward. It is as if a single stroke has ruined the whole picture. This is the headquarters of the Meng conglomerate. They spent tens of billions to build it. It has a total of 108 floors. It is the tallest building in Phoenix City. Qin Fengyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. I know. What I mean is, from my current angle, the shape of this building doesn't seem right no matter how I look at it. Zhuo Duo mumbled. This building seems to be the same thickness from top to bottom. In fact, there is another platform above the 108th floor, forming an extension of the stone. Further up, there is a building that is slightly smaller than the main building. I heard that this is the office of the president of Meng conglomerate, Meng Tenua? But is there a need to build this office as high as 6 floors? Also, what's the meaning of the circle above the CEO's office? Mr. Qin, do you know the purpose of these shapes? Qin Fengyang said indifferently. I have asked around about the unique shape of this building. The more reliable explanation is that Meng Tianyue is crazy about saber techniques. And this building was built using his favorite saber as a model. The overall shape of this building is a saber that fell from the sky and stabbed into the ground. As for the CEO's office at the top, it's the handle of this knife. So this building is called the Mad Saber Building. It is like a mad saber that was stabbed into the heart of Phoenix City, intimidating everyone. That's not right. Zhuoxiaoduo's eyes flashed coldly. It is not that simple. Instead of saying that this saber is stabbed into the heart of Phoenix City, it is more accurate to say that it is stabbed into the heart of Phoenix City. It is this saber that has suppressed the fate of Phoenix City. What's more, the tip of this saber is stabbed into the heart of Phoenix City, absorbing the power of Phoenix City at every moment. Looking from this position, I can almost see with one glance that all the auras in the surroundings are converging towards this building, regardless of whether they are doing it willingly or under the threat of the saber's murderous aura. In short, everything is surrendering to this saber. Zhuoxiaoduo narrowed his eyes and looked at the tall building. He said, Teacher Qin, whether it's Phoenix City or the Phoenix Vein, this building is extremely ominous. Qin Fengyang said faintly, this building is the tallest building in the city. There's no comparison. What's more, ever since it was completed, the observation deck and glass walkway upstairs have become a major attraction in the city. They are open to the public at fixed times, and people can even go up to see the entire city. If you want to demolish it, it will not be a simple matter. Just the resistance from all sides is enough to give you a headache, not to mention the power of Meng conglomerate itself. Zhuoxiaoduo nodded. With regards to this, I am naturally mentally prepared. Then, he turned his head and looked in another direction. Is that where the ancestral grave of the Ning family is located? That's right. The yin energy over there is very heavy. Even with the basic knowledge of feng shui, such a place should not be chosen as the location of the ancestral grave. However, in the entire Phoenix City, only this place can be compared to the raging saber tower of the Meng conglomerate. Also, this place is where the earth veins of Phoenix City gather. Teacher Qin, you may not know how to look at aura, but if you look at the two lakes as the dividing line, don't you get the feeling that one side is high up in the clouds, and the other side is deep underground? The higher you look at one side, the lower you look at the other side? Zhuoxiaoduo said. Qin Fengyang did not know anything about aura observation, but what Zhuoxiaoduo told him was very simple. At a glance, he could see that the aura of the two sides were very different. Then with Zhuoxiaoduo's reminder, he looked in the direction that Zhuoxiaoduo pointed out. Indeed, the opposites of the two sides were becoming more and more obvious. This is yin and yang. Zhuoxiaoduo's side, behind these two families, there are experts guiding them. The Ning family used the power of their ancestral bloodline to occupy the land of extreme yin. They forcefully pulled out the earth veins and locked them down, making it impossible for them to move. And the Meng conglomerate used this tyrannical force to receive the sun and suppress the earth veins. On the surface, even if an ordinary qi gazer were to look at them, they would look like yin and yang opposing each other, as if they were mortal enemies. But the roots of these two families are still on the ground. Even if the surface of the ground shows that they are opposing each other, if one were to carefully analyze the pattern of the earth veins, they are complementary to each other. In other words, it is because the yin and yang of these two families circulate around each other, forming an endless cycle of power that has been suppressing the phoenix veins. No wonder the phoenix can't fly. With the existence of this yin-yang chain array, even if 80,000 years pass, the phoenix will not be able to fly. Qin Fengyang seemed to understand. What do you mean? Chapter 165. You know what I mean. Zhuoxiaoduo's expression was cold. As long as these two clans are here, and this formation is not broken, the phoenix vein will forever be pinned down. Naturally, there is no hope of success for the phoenix vein to charge into the soul, only death awaits. No matter how many plans you have, it will be useless. This is a dead end. Even with the help of the fire dragon, it won't work. Zhuoxiaoduo's expression was getting colder and crazier. A flame of madness was slowly growing in his eyes. Just tell me what you have in mind. It's simple. You just have to remove these two locations. It would be best if you could uproot the entire foundation. Then the formation will break on its own. Qin Fengyang smiled bitterly when he heard that. It was indeed a simple method. Simple and crude with immediate results. However, it was impossible. Did Zhuo Xiaoduo think that this was like eating steamed buns? That it would end with one bite? Putting aside the fact that the Ning family's ancestral grave was related to the feng shui of their ancestors, once touched, it would be an irreconcilable feud. The Meng conglomerate's headquarters occupied a huge area. It was filled with people. There were more than 100,000 people working there. 100,000 people meant that there were 100,000 families. Moreover, this was just a headquarters. Uproot it? That was something that was absolutely impossible. The power of money was just that great. It might be easy to deal with a pile of cash. However, once it became a skyscraper or a landmark building, even the king of a country might not be able to tear it down, because it concerned the jobs and livelihoods of millions of people. If one took into account the business network that spread throughout the country, the impact would increase exponentially. It might seem like a small conglomerate. However, the number of people that could be directly or indirectly affected was probably a terrifying number. Is there any other way? Qin Fengyang smiled helplessly. Speaking of other methods, he had his own. That was to attack the headquarters of the Meng Consortium with brute force and destroy it with brute force. However, there were two concerns with this method. First, the combat power of Meng Jiwei organization would not just sit by and watch. They would definitely launch a counterattack. Second, even if he really had the power to pull out the building and toss it aside like a carrot, he would not be able to do anything. However, the innocent casualties caused by this could not be controlled, and the people who lost their livelihoods were even more immeasurable. This loss, this responsibility, so many innocent lives, Qin Fengyang knew that he couldn't shoulder it. This was the helplessness of having a bottom line. If he was just a lawless and fearless devil, he wouldn't have to consider these things. How could Zhuo Xiaoduo not know that this method would not work? A flame flashed in his eyes and he said, "There are other ways." "What is it?" "If it's possible, I'll be at your disposal." The method I'm going to talk about next is a method based on the qi viewing art. Start from the Wuxia River that directly passes through the city. Zhuo Xiaoduo pointed. "It's the Wuxia River that looks like a jade belt around your waist." "This river? Start from this river?" Zhuo Xiaoduo nodded. "Yes, start from this river. This river flows from the west to the east. The water flow is always so gentle. Since ancient times, there has never been any floods or floods. Even if there is a heavy rain, this river will not change. The river is wide enough. Below it is white sand that is more than 1,000 feet deep. It can be said that this is the mother river of Phoenix City. Everyone in the city drinks from this river. Even the water in the 2 lakes in the city originates from this river. And it is precisely because of this Wuxia River that Phoenix City has become a land of treasures and wealth, separated by a strip of water. The reason why the Phoenix vein can be successfully nurtured is also because of the existence of this river. It gathers the spiritual energy of the mountains and rivers, and connects the qi channels of the east and the west. This river also has a source. The source is very close. It is the Spirit Pearl Lake on the mountain in the west. It is like a pearl that fell from the sky. Under the Spirit Pearl Lake, the spring boils the sky, and it will never stop. Looking at the long river of history, even when the entire Central Plains was struggling to survive due to drought, Phoenix City still had good weather. Millions of acres of fertile land, because of the irrigation of the Wuxia River, had endless vitality. And all of this was actually because of the existence of Spirit Pearl Lake. The spring water flows to the east. It is also because of the righteousness of heaven and earth. Qin Fengyang was completely confused. Obviously, he did not know the true meaning of Zhuo Xiaoduo's words. So what? According to what I know, there is another heavenly jewel lake on the mountain in the east. The basic structure of this lake is the same as the one on the mountain in the west. In fact, the reason why these 2 heavenly jewel lakes exist is to nurture the Phoenix vein. The heavenly jewel lake in the east is not very famous. The main reason is that the west side is higher, and the water flows to the east. As for the heavenly jewel lake in the east, It flows to the other side and becomes the Zhonglan River. When the two lakes meet, the Zhonglan River will not be so peaceful. However, the origin of these two heavenly jewel lakes is the same. If we want to change the general trend, we can start from this river. As long as we reverse the trend and change the direction of the river, it will have a considerable effect. Shuo Duo looked at Qin Fengyang and smiled. Reverse the trend of the entire river? Change the direction. Qin Fengyang's eyeballs hung out of their sockets. This idea sounded even more unreliable than attacking the Meng clan's headquarters directly. At least it was a plan that could be done with manpower. But you just opened your mouth and changed the direction of the entire river. Wouldn't that be like moving the mountains and filling the seas? Although the river is going against the trend and changing its direction, it can't be changed by manpower alone. You see, the basic direction of this river is from the west to the east between the two mountains. This section of the river is basically flat. So, we don't need to deliberately go to war to deal with it. What we need to do is to block the mountain stream on the east side, and then block the other side of the Heavenly Jewel Lake. From this side, the water will rush down from this gap. As for the Spirit Pearl Lake on the west side, we don't need to change anything. We just need to make a tunnel at the bottom of the mountain. That side of the mountain is the Cold Water River. We just need to direct the water to the Cold Water River. In this way, it won't affect the people's lives or the ecology. Qin Fengyang listened in a daze, as if he was listening to a myth. For the convenience of drinking water, the Meng clan has built a man-made lake beside their headquarters. The water is drawn from the Wuxia River, and then goes back to the waterway. Changing the direction of the water flow like this will not affect them at all. It will also turn around and then go out again. But, in essence, it will go in from the original exit, and then go out from the other side. The same goes for the Ning clan's ancestral grave. They want to use the Yin Qi to suppress the Phoenix vein. So they can't avoid the river that nurtures the Phoenix vein. So they also have a man-made lake like this. After changing the direction, it will have the same effect as the Meng clan. On the surface, it looks like it's for drinking, but in reality, it's a channel that absorbs the Phoenix vein's energy. The water flows out from here time and time again, leaving the Phoenix vein's energy here. Swishaoduo's lips curled into a cold smile. This countermeasure of mine only requires a few experts, and it's done secretly. I can guarantee that the Meng clan and the Ning clan will not notice this change at all. Firstly, it's too far away. Secondly, who will notice an ordinary man-made lake? After all, they are all important figures. Hee hee. Swishaoduo's cold laughter sent a chill down Qin Fengyang's spine. He couldn't help but ask humbly, what's the use of doing this? Simply put, it's like flipping the universe and reversing the 5 elements. Metal generates water, and water generates wood. But if it's reversed, it's like water suppressing fire, and fire suppressing metal. After the water flows in reverse, the Phoenix vein will absorb their energy, and they will no longer be the ones absorbing the Phoenix vein's energy. Swishaoduo said casually, of course we still need to make some extra arrangements. But that's the work of the Qi Watchers. Of course they have been absorbing energy for so many years. Even if we change the direction of the river, we won't be able to gain the upper hand in a short period of time. But from the moment we change the direction of the river, they will have a chance of survival. Because after the water flows in reverse, it will become the Phoenix vein's source of life, and it will no longer be a channel that absorbs the Phoenix vein's energy. The continuous injection of energy will increase the Phoenix vein's vitality bit by bit. Naturally, it will have an endless supply of vitality. Qin Fengyang felt that something was wrong. He had a feeling that Swishaoduo's plan was very big, but he didn't know anything about this, so he could only listen to him half-heartedly. Teacher Qin, you have to help me this time. This time it's really too big of a deal. That's the Phoenix vein we're talking about. This is something that will affect the safety of the continent. I can guarantee that these two families are in cahoots with the UMNO alliance. Swishaoduo said angrily. Every time I think about how these two families have deceived and used the old principle for so long, I have an impulse to kill them. These two families are just as the old principle said. They deserve to die. They're insane. Qin Fengyang couldn't stand this word the most. When he heard this, his eyes almost spouted fire. Although he knew that Swishaoduo was deliberately trying to arouse his hatred for a common enemy, It was a common enemy and a united front. Zuo Duo was only trying to get him to help him, that was all. If he helped him, he could destroy the Meng family and the Ning family's plan, and even defeat the Umno Alliance's plan. That would be a great thing, okay? Moreover, he could also vent his anger for He Yuanyue. Why wouldn't he do it? Qin Fengyang took a deep breath and said, okay, I agree. 6 chapters. Chapter 166. Zuo face was full of emotions. He said, thank you, Mr. Qin. However, even though I'm 70 to 80% sure about this, I'm still a little uneasy. Should I ask Grandma He to come out tomorrow afternoon and look at the East Mountain, West Mountain, Wenshui Lake, and Phoenix City's imposing manor again? Well, Qin Fengyang couldn't make up his mind. The art of aura observation was so mysterious. It was a method to observe the changes of the qi of heaven and earth, to consume the user's qi the most. With He Yuanyue's weak body, it was a huge burden. It could easily reduce her lifespan. Moreover, would she be able to endure such a rush? Actually, I'm sure even if Grandma He doesn't check it. I'm just a little uneasy. Zuo Duo frowned and said, since you're sure, why do you need her to check it? Qin Fengyang was furious. What's wrong with her body now? Do you really want her to die of exhaustion? Well, what are you talking about? Qin Fengyang said, let me ask you, how confident are you in this plan? At least 80 to 90%. Are you sure? You're doubting me. Since we've known each other, have I ever said that I've missed anything? That's true. Qin Fengyang made up his mind. That's it then. You don't have to ask Grandma He to do it. At most you can ask her to check it out and fix it. But in the process, don't let her worry about it. Your Grandma He has been exhausted since the incident with Sha Po Lang. Don't bother her with such a small thing. Qin Fengyang looked at Zuo Duo with dissatisfaction. Zuo Duo sighed helplessly. Okay, but Mr. Qin, you can't do it alone. If you do it alone, it'll take too long and it'll cause too much noise. Just tell me how many people you need. Qin Fengyang squinted. We need at least 5 or 6 experts to act at the same time in order to complete the task as quickly as possible. Moreover, we don't have to worry about the opponent noticing. Zuo Duo said. That's simple. I'll pull Li Changjiang and Luo Lai along and see if Sister Lan can help. We should have enough manpower. If you can persuade Mu Yanyan through your sister with cerebral palsy, plus your sister herself, you can finish it faster, right? Zuo Duo nodded slowly and said, that makes sense. I'll talk to Sister Nian Nian. Zuo Duo had been in a gloomy mood the whole time. When the conversation came to an end, it took another 3 seconds before he seemed to react. He urged with a pale face, Teacher Qin, about my sister with cerebral palsy. Can we not talk about it? Qin Fengyang was in a great mood and said, there's no time to lose. Let's act immediately once we've decided. All right. Are we going back now? Teacher Qin, please take me through Chanyu building on the way back. I want to see if Teacher Mu is still there. All right. Qin Fengyang and Zuo Duo flew all the way to the top of Chanyu's building. They saw Mu Yanyan in front of the window. She seemed to have sensed something and looked up. Zuo Duo made a 9 gesture, and Mu Yanyan nodded slightly. Qin Fengyang took Zuo Duo and flew into the sky in an instant. The whole process only took a few seconds. Qin Fengyang landed and put Zuo Duo down at the gate of the community. Then he left alone again. Be careful. We have work to do at night. Zuo Duo called out. Qin Fengyang didn't look back. He just waved his hand with his back to him and left. Let's go home for dinner. Zuo Duo rubbed his stomach as he walked home. It was dinner time, and along the way, he constantly smelled the aroma of food coming from all directions. Suddenly, he felt his stomach rumbling, and a feeling similar to dizziness appeared in his mind. Am I hypoglycemic? I'm hungry. Zuo Duo rushed home like a galloping horse. Mom, is the dinner ready? Is my dad back? Do we still have to unload the car these days? Why didn't he come to find me? Nian Nian cat hasn't come back yet. No one answered his first 2 questions. Zuo Duo immediately knew that Zuo wasn't at home. So he blurted out the word, Nian Nian cat. Wu Yuding walked out of the kitchen with a faint smile. Son of a bitch, you're so bold now? You're a little arrogant. But you're much smarter now. You know how to read people's expressions. You guess that your sister Nian Nian isn't at home just from a few words. You've improved a lot. Your IQ is really not low. Wu Yuding tapped her son's forehead. Mom, look at what you're saying. Am I not your son? How can my IQ be low? Zhuo Duo raised his head and said arrogantly, Mom, as a man you have to be tough at home. You don't have the final say. I won't do it for even a day. Your son still has the status in this family. Wu Yuding rolled her eyes and sighed. Son. Huh. Actually, if you really find a wife in the future and can maintain the second-in-command position, I'll be satisfied and comforted. Ha 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 ha. Zhuo Duo laughed wildly. Mom, you're too pessimistic. Don't worry, your son is very popular with girls. You don't even know how the girls in school are chasing after me. If Nian Nian Cat wants to enter our family, she'll have to chase after me. Otherwise, with my... Before he could finish speaking, he was suddenly stunned. His mouth fell open and he stopped talking. He clearly saw Zhuo Xiaonian slowly walk out of the kitchen with a faint smile on her face. Her eyes were full of anger, but she still had a faint smile on her face. Zhuo Duo was all too familiar with this expression. It was a sign that Nian Nian Cat's anger had reached its peak. In other words, every time this expression appeared, he was immediately doomed. He turned to look at Wu Yuding in disbelief. Mom, you tricked me? Zhuo Duo was furious. My dear mother. She dug such a big hole for me. Wu Yuding pursed her lips. Son, I didn't trick you. Your sister Nian Nian has been helping me in the kitchen, and she didn't hide from you. The moment you came back, you swaggered around. I wanted to stop you, but I couldn't. Let me teach you a lesson. Other than being good at reading people's expressions, you also have to be careful with your words and actions. You must know that the more you talk, the more mistakes you make. Zhuo Duo looked like he was about to cry. How did you stop me? I'm your son, how could you? Wu Yuding turned and left. Son, you're on your own. TSK, humans can't keep their mouths shut. They have to bear the consequences. Zhuo Xiaonian walked over with a spoon. She narrowed her beautiful eyes and smiled. Son, what did you say just now? Many girls are chasing after you? Is her figure good? Is she pretty? Tell me, I'll give you some advice. Zhuo Duo strode forward and grabbed Wu Yuding's hand. He pleaded, Mom, although I'm still young and don't know anything, I don't know what it means to be careful with my words and actions. But Sue, don't you think that Sister Nian Nian is too beautiful? There aren't many girls as beautiful as her in the entire mainland. Wu Yuding widened her eyes. Mom, I really can't bear to part with Sister Nian Nian. Help me think of a way. If Sister Nian Nian can be with us forever, never leave our family, never marry someone else, how great would that be? Sister Nian Nian is pure and kind, beautiful and gentle. She has such a good personality, such a good temperament, such a good figure, and such a suitable height. Not to mention she's filial and hardworking. A good girl like her is really hard to find. Wu Yuding was speechless. Zhuo Duo turned his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaonian. He said from the bottom of his heart, Sister Nian Nian, I really think now, how can you be so beautiful? Even a goddess can't compare to you. Zhuo Xiaonian's eyes were already smiling, but she tried hard to keep a straight face. Son, when you came in just now, woof woof woof, Zhuo Duo said with a salivating face, woof woof woof. Sister Nian Nian, do you have any instructions? Woof woof woof. Ahahaha. Wu Yuding finally couldn't control herself and burst into laughter. Zhuo Xiaonian stared for a long time before finally laughing out loud. She held her stomach and said, Mom, why is your son so? Wu Yuding laughed until tears came out of her eyes. So shameless, right? Actually, I'm also very curious. Who did he inherit his shamelessness from? Ha ha ha. Zhuo Duo had already moved behind Zhuo Xiaonian attentively. Sister Nian Nian, you've worked hard cooking. Let me help you massage your shoulders to relieve your tiredness. Sister Nian Nian's cooking is so delicious. It's my favorite. Nian Mom taught Xiao Duo to be obedient today, and I'll also teach you to be obedient. If one day the dog starts to care about his own face in front of you, then it'll be terrible. Wu Yuding said meaningfully, in front of the people you care about the most, what's the point of caring about your face? Zhuxiaonian was deep in thought. She turned her bright eyes to Zhuxiaoduo. Zhuxiaoduo attentively massaged her shoulders. When he saw her turn her head, he hurriedly asked with a flattering expression, "Sister Nian Nian, do you want to ride a horse?" Woof woof. Ha ha. Zhuxiaonian burst out laughing and jokingly scolded, "Shameless. I'm a little shameless, little shameless. I'm laughing every day. Sister Nian Nian is so beautiful, so beautiful. I like you, I like you, I like you." Zhuxiaoduo shamelessly began to sing. As he sang, he winked at her. Zhuxiaonian gradually laughed until she couldn't straighten her back. Her previous anger had long disappeared. What a clown! Wu Yuding looked helpless. This banter continued until Zhuxianglu returned. Then they finally bade each other farewell. "Just you wait." Zhuxiaonian waved her small fist and made a fierce pose like a tiger fighting a hero. "I'll teach you a lesson next time." Whoa! Zhuxiaoduo immediately put on a pitiful expression as if he was waiting to be beaten. Sigh. Zhuxianglu sighed. "The genes are so strong. Back then, I was finally sure that he was really my son. I'm going to eat lunch first. Look at the title of this chapter. Even if I don't eat, heat up the food for me. Wait. Once I give the order, serve it. If she dares to neglect, beat her up." Chapter 167. Wu Yuding craned her neck and frowned. "What are you talking about?" Zhuxianglu frowned and put on a thoughtful expression. He said, "I'm saying that Nianer has grown up. Should we go on a trip in the second half of the year?" Wu Yuding's attention was suddenly diverted. She said excitedly, "A trip? A trip?" Zhuxiaoduo and Zhuxiaonian also turned their heads and looked at them with shining eyes. This topic was too interesting. Therefore, the family naturally began to discuss matters related to the trip. They were still discussing until the end of the meal. Wu Yuding cleared the table and said to Zhuxiaoduo and Zhuxiaonian, "Why are you two talking so enthusiastically? Who said we're taking you with us?" Zhuxiaoduo and Zhuxiaonian's faces froze at the same time. "Mom, what do you mean?" "What I mean is, you guys do your own things. Your mom and I are going on a trip. Only the two of us are going. We won't take you guys with us." Zhuxianglu said kindly, "We can't delay your business." "I'm not busy. I'm fine." Zhuxiaoduo immediately declared, "Well, we won't take you with us if you're fine." Zhuxianglu slurped the last half glass of wine into his mouth and sighed. "It's because of you two that your mom and I have been separated for almost 19 years. Life is long, but how many 19 years can there be?" Zhuxianglu sighed. "Can you two stop getting in our way?" Shda. The siblings, who had been disliked, pouted their lips and looked sullen. "A trip?" Zhuxiaonian looked melancholy. "Traveling?" Zhuxiaoduo's face was filled with disappointment, as well as the sadness of being abandoned. "Stop acting, your acting is too lame." Zhuxianglu exposed the siblings' acting. "You two were so happy when we went out to have fun. Now you're free. Besides, this matter hasn't been decided yet. We don't know if you'll go or not. I have something important to tell you." "What is it?" "Your Uncle Ma's shop is next to ours. It was sold today and the person who bought his shop opened a blacksmith shop." Zhuxianglu said faintly, "I went to take a look. This blacksmith's craftsmanship is passable. The two of you can go over and take a look some other day. You can go over and pre-order whatever weapons you want to forge." Zhuxiaoduo wondered, "But it's not time for me to use my natal weapon yet." "I'm fine." Zhuxianglu said, "What's the point of your mother keeping so many materials from your Uncle Nan? If you can't use your natal weapon, you can forge one first and try it out. There are many times when you can only determine what's best for you after experiencing it. It's better if you can decide on your natal weapon. As long as you choose, you can forge it now. It's not too late to use it when the time comes. I heard that this blacksmith will only stay here for a month. It'll be difficult to find him in the future. This is a rare opportunity." Zhuxianglu said, "Don't miss the opportunity." "Hey, I understand." The siblings agreed at the same time. Their four black eyes turned at the same time. They were a little excited about this matter. "Hey, come and help me think about the shape of my sword." "Well, I also want to think about what my natal weapon should look like." Zhuxiaoduo was a little worried. "I'm using a very light weapon now. I can't feel anything at all. What should I do? The siblings went back to their room. Wu Yuding came out and frowned. Wu Taijiang will only stay for a month? Isn't this too fake? He just bought someone else's shop and he's going to stay for a month? It can't be helped. Shuchonglu frowned and said, he has other things to do. It's good enough that he can squeeze out a month. After he's done here, he'll immediately rush to forge other weapons. He won't have time to think about other things. Oh, a month is almost enough. Wu Yuding said, I'm not worried about Xiao Nian's weapon, but Xiao Duo probably hasn't decided what to use yet. If we let him choose early, won't it be too hurried to help him grow? You're wrong. He already has a direction. Zhuochanglu said. He's always on the path of heavy weapons. If he doesn't have a goal, he won't do it at all. What Xiao Duo lacks now is an affirmation. You're right. Last time when he went out with a battle axe that weighed a few hundred pounds, I was so confused. I won't be confused if you're confused. The weapon this kid will use in the future will not be lighter than the battle axe. If he really wants to use that kind of super heavy weapon as his natal weapon, then the 1,000 fantasy gold will not be wasted. Wu Yuding said proudly, of course. Although our son's talent was not very good when he was born, he has the peerless blade. Although he looks weak, he is born with great strength. Once he starts to cultivate, he will make great progress. She looked at the door. Shuchonglu lowered his voice and said, I'm not surprised at all that Xiao Duo's cultivation progress is so fast. But I'm very interested to know how he can cultivate. Logically speaking, even if a saint comes, it won't be able to change the initial talent. Wu Yuding said unhappily, what's there to be surprised about? There are all kinds of strange things in this world. There are only things that people can't think of. Nothing is impossible. I don't care how he can cultivate. At least until now, he hasn't lost his life force. He hasn't lost his life force. He hasn't lost his life force. And he hasn't lost his divine source. As for the rest, I'm really not interested to think about it. Shuchonglu frowned and said, but that person, have you forgotten? He didn't have the same dream for several years in a row. Wu Yuding rolled her eyes and said, what's the point of thinking so much? Okay, I won't think about it. If only we had trusted Xiao Duo a year earlier, and helped him with all our strength when he told us about the dream. Sigh. The couple still felt a little depressed when they thought of this. The strange dream that Shuchonglu and his wife mentioned by Xiao Duo was a strange dream that he had for 6 years in a row. In fact, after Xiao Duo had a few similar dreams at the beginning, he told them about it. But after checking and verifying it many times, they even tried to arrange the environment according to what Xiao Duo had told them. However, after spending more than 20,000 yuan, it still didn't work. In the third year, Xiao Duo expressed that he wanted to try it again. After begging for a few days, they spent another 20,000 yuan. But unfortunately, it still didn't work. In the fifth year, they even tried it twice. The first time they spent more than 20,000 yuan, and the second time they spent more than 20,000 yuan. But it still didn't work. After a long time, even Xiao Duo himself didn't have any hope, let alone the couple. In this world where an average of 2,000 star dollars was enough for an ordinary family to live peacefully for a year, it was already very generous to try it 4 times in a row and spend 100,000 star dollars as a bonus. Zhuochanglu and Wu Yuding were experienced and knowledgeable, and knew that the path of cultivation was full of fortuitous encounters. Therefore, they were willing to accept such a thing and try it over and over again. If they were ordinary parents, they would have flown into a rage long ago. What Zhuochanglu and his wife didn't know was that Xiao Duo had succeeded in his experiment on the 5th time. Otherwise, who knew how long this matter would have lasted? It was also because of this that Zhuochanglu was very regretful. If he had tried it a few more times a year back then, would Xiao Duo have awakened a few years earlier? But this question was destined to have no answer. The past was irreversible. Even the most powerful people couldn't do anything about it. The past was the past and it was the past. Let him go on his own. So what you said about the trip is true. It's true. Are we really not bringing them? Why should we bring them? They're a hindrance. Zhuochanglu looked disgusted. Is it okay? It's different now. Xiao Duo has also embarked on the path of cultivation. It's not impossible for him to catch up with Xiao Nian. Naturally, It's time for the two of them to spend some time alone and get used to each other. It's actually quite troublesome for us to stay at home all the time. What if? What if? What does it matter? Well, you're right. It's true. Okay. Then it's settled. Hasn't it been decided before? Zhuoxiao Duo and Zhuo Xiaonian didn't know that their parents had completely stopped them from going on a trip together. At this moment they were discussing weapons. Zhuo Xiaonian found a lot of pictures and spread them on Zhuo Xiaoduo's bed one by one. They were all long swords of various styles. Look. Which one looks better? In my opinion, they're all very ordinary. Zhuoxiao Duo took away the pictures of a few broadswords first. These and this and this. They're all men's long swords. They don't suit you at all. And this. The temperament and image don't suit you either. After the audition, there were only 3 pictures left. Only these 3 pictures are barely acceptable, Zhuoxiao Duo said. Zhuo Xiaonian's eyes lit up. I also like these 3 swords, but I still feel that there's something missing. Zhuoxiao Duo touched his chin and said, What's missing? It's missing a temperament that suits you. It doesn't have the ethereal feeling that you were born with, and it doesn't have the cold and pure aura that you have. Zhuo Xiaonian nodded repeatedly. Yes, I think so too. Zhuo Xiaonian's beautiful eyes were shining. She didn't feel that way at all. It was only after Zhuoxiao Duo said it that she realized that what he said made a lot of sense. Ordinary long swords are 3 feet long or 3 feet long. But if you're going to use it, you shouldn't use such a long one. I think 2 feet 7 is enough. Zhuoxiao Duo gestured the length of the sword. Zhuo Xiaonian took out her short sword and measured it. 2 feet 7. It's 1 foot 2 longer than this one. Good. Is 5 centimeters wide enough? Chapter 168. Make it a little narrower for 0.5. Make it white. Not this kind of steel color, the kind that is white and transparent. What do you think? That's great. Can it change color? Yeah, I've done my research. 1000 Fantasy Gold is good stuff. It can be made into any color and characteristics you want. Okay, the tip of the sword can't just be the tip of the head. Start from 2 feet 4 inches. Use a streamline shape and go straight to the tip. Start from the mouth of the sword and make it a hole. What do you think? Okay. While Zhuoxiao Duo was talking, Zhuo Xiaonian was thinking and imagining. At the right time, a milky white star spiritual energy gushed out from Zhuo Xiaonian's hand and formed the shape that Zhuoxiao Duo had mentioned. The sword guard. Before Zhuoxiao Duo could finish, Zhuo Xiaonian said excitedly, I've already thought about the sword guard. How about using 2 white puppies as the guard? Puppies? Zhuoxiao Duo was dumbfounded. Sis, I made the sword in the image of a fairy, not a little girl's toy. Zhuo Xiaonian's face fell. What should I do? I still want it to be cute. Cute? It doesn't fit your character. I think the hilt, head, and guard should be shaped like a phoenix. Add the sword tassel and it'll be a perfect ice phoenix. What do you think? Zhuoxiao Duo was stunned by his own design. In Zhuo Xiaonian's hand, the shape of the longsword that Zhuoxiao Duo had envisioned was magnificent, and one could tell at a glance that it was a peerless product. A peerless divine sword. It was full of ethereal nobility, and also contained a sense of awe-inspiring and unattainable. Zhuo Xiaonian pursed her lips and said, But I still want to put a puppy on it. Zhuoxiao Duo was speechless. No, it'll ruin the image. Absolutely not. Whether it's the image of the sword or my image, it'll be ruined. Absolutely not. How about it? No means no. Zhuoxiao's attitude was unprecedentedly firm. You actually want to make a puppy on your own sword? Humph. What were their intentions? Then consider what you've said. Zhuo Xiaonian no longer hesitated. Instead, he asked Zhuoxiao Duo to take dozens of photos of the long sword he had built with his spiritual energy and carefully preserved them. Sister Nian, the weapon I want to use is a hammer. Zhuoxiao Duo said seriously. Hammer? Zhuo Xiaonian was shocked. Are you kidding? Of course, there are some high-level cultivators who use heavy weapons as their natal weapons, but using hammers is too rare. Of course not. Zhuoxiao's eyes flashed. I plan to use a hammer. 2 big hammers. The heavier the better. He had a natural yearning for heavy weapons. After listening to Qin Fengyang's words, he was even more determined to use a hammer. Why do you have to use a hammer? Zhuo Xiaonian was puzzled. One of the reasons. Mr. Qin said I'm soft-hearted. Zhuo Xiaoduo said with heavy weapons like this, there's no need to be soft-hearted. Either you don't hit it or you hit it. With one hit you'll become a pile of meat paste. If you don't use your strength you won't be able to control it. Isn't that great? It'll save you a lot of trouble. Zhuo Xiaoduo bared his fangs and brandished his claws. He put his hands on the hammer and roared, "Get out of my way. I Gigi can't even control my Gigi." Isn't that awesome? Zhuo Xiaonian had already collapsed on the bed laughing. You're not bad. Well look, I want the hammer to be designed like this. The handle should be a little longer. I want a groove here and there. Oh, groove? What do you want to do? You'll know when you hear it. Zhuo Xiaoduo designed excitedly. There'll be a thin sword hidden in both grooves. Once, you'll immediately pull out the sword, understand? Make a hollow design in the middle of the hammer handle and connect it with a strong chain. If it doesn't work, it'll leave the hand and become a meteor hammer. It'll also be a long-range weapon. What do you think? It was obvious that Zhuo Xiaoduo had thought about his weapon thousands of times. He didn't even need to think before he said it. Everything flowed out smoothly like water. Make half of the hammer solid and the other half hollow. In the hollow half, hide many small compartments of hidden weapons. Set up a mechanism on the surface. The body of the hammer is shiny and dazzling. When it's waved, it'll shine with thousands of rays of light and thousands of auspicious colors. No one can see the hidden weapon shooting holes on it. I estimate that a hammer should be able to install 99 small compartments, which means that it needs 99 holes. In addition, it should be matched with a single shot and a continuous shot design. I can't just press it and shoot them all out. That'll be a big mistake. The spring mechanism must be set up delicately. It'll be best if I can figure it out myself. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome to fill in the hidden weapons. The size of the hidden weapons can't be too big. I think the oxhair needle is a good choice. Of course, it has to be suitable for long-range attacks. A slightly bigger awl needle can also be considered, but the butt of the awl needle can't be too big, or it'll take up too much space. Zhuo Xiaonian was stunned by his description. She was tongue-tied and couldn't say anything for a long time. How cunning can you be? You're holding a hammer that weighs thousands of kilograms and you're using such a wretched method, one after another. This is too much, isn't it? Just by hearing this, Zhuo Xiaonian could already imagine how terrifying it would be to fight against Zhuo Xiaoduo in the future. It was like a normal person facing over 100 machine guns, and they were all machine guns that were completely defenseless. But the most intuitive impression is that it's just two big hammers. Damn, your design is good, but the craftsmanship is too complicated. It's hard to do, right? Zhuo Xiaonian swallowed hard and shook her head. What's so hard about it? Zhuo Xiaoduo said, isn't it normal? At most you'll need more buttons to fire it. He frowned and thought about it. Do you still need buttons to fire it? Zhuo Xiaonian wondered. The hidden weapons are all built in the hammer. If you want to use it, you can directly inject spiritual energy and fire it in the hammer. Pa! Zhuo Xiaoduo slapped his thigh and jumped up excitedly. That's right. Directly activate it with spiritual energy. I'm really a wise man who makes mistakes in his 1,000 considerations, but you're a fool who makes 1,000 considerations. No, you're a wise man who makes 1,000 considerations. He was really thinking about how many buttons he would need to install with so many mechanisms. Moreover, there were different corresponding buttons, and he had to follow the map without making any mistakes. It was really difficult. He had been worrying about it, but now he was enlightened by Zhuo Xiaonian's words. He didn't need to go through so much trouble. But it's still difficult to make these two hammers. Zhuo Xiaonian sighed. Since it's a big hammer, the first consideration should be its sturdiness. If you hit it, the hammer head will be deformed first, and the mechanism inside will be destroyed. Secondly, the hammer head is mainly designed to be hollow. If you want to shoot the hidden weapons and at a very fast speed, the surface must not be too thick. It's really difficult just thinking about it. It's okay, let's go to the blacksmith shop tomorrow. If it can't be used, we'll find someone else. Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't think much of it and said, if it really can't be used, I'll make 2 small hammers tomorrow. Let's use something else first. Zhuoxiaonian said, I suggest you use light weapons first. First, you can learn how to lift light weapons as if they're heavy. Second, when you're able to use hammers, you can still use light weapons to deceive people. If you use the hammer at a critical moment, your opponent will be surprised and will be particularly uncomfortable. Good idea, good idea. Catch them off guard. Zhuoxiao Duo gave her a thumbs up, his eyes shining. Sister Nian Nian, I didn't expect you to be more cunning than me. You really can't judge a book by its cover. You're the cunning one. Don't you know how to talk? You're cunning. You're cunning. I'm not praising you. You. Thus the two of them started fighting. Let's go, I'll train you when we get out. Zhuoxiaonian got up from the bed with her hair in a mess, her face full of anger. She miscalculated just now. She was no match for this rascal in bed. She'd better go out and train him. Yes, I have something to do. Zhuoxiao Duo looked at his watch. It was 9 o'clock. It was almost time. There's something that needs to be done at night. Put in a lot of effort, Zhuoxiao Duo laughed mischievously. What is it? Zhuoxiaonian obviously misunderstood. Her face turned red and she said angrily, I'm telling you, dog, don't let your imagination run wild. Mom and Dad are here, I definitely won't. Zhuoxiao Duo glared at her. What are you thinking? Then he explained his idea in detail. As soon as he started, he was beaten up by Zhuoxiaonian with a red face. Zhuoxiao Duo felt that he had been wronged. He had no idea how he had offended her. Suddenly he was wrongly beaten up. What was going on? This was all that he lamented in his heart. Women. What did you just say? Say it again. Zhuoxiaonian's face was red. Zhuoxiao Duo reintroduced his idea. We need to change the terrain and then reverse your fate. Will it work? Remove the will. It'll definitely work. It'll definitely work. Zhuoxiao Duo was domineering. Look for my master? But we need to confirm whether Mr. Mu is in Qinyu Building. Zhuoxiao Duo said, Qinyu Building and Ming Group's headquarters have the same aura. They're of the same origin. When I went home, I asked Mr. Qin to take me to Qinyu Building for a walk. He gestured to contact me at 9 o'clock. At this time, Mr. Mu should have already left Qinyu Building. Call him and ask, but be careful not to say it over the phone. Okay. Zhuoxiaonian immediately dialed the number. Mu Yanyan had already left Qinyu Building and was waiting for the news. After hearing what Zhuoxiaonian said, she immediately rushed over. Tonight I'll go for acupuncture. Chapter 169. Change the terrain? Is it really that easy? It's really very easy. From what I can see, the terrain of the waterway is even on both sides. We just need to set it up at the source and endpoints on both sides. That's enough. Zhuoxiao Duo said, in terms of results, there won't be any big changes. What will be affected is only the luck of the two families. Mu Yanyan was also a decisive person. She said, in that case, there's no time to lose. A long delay means trouble. Let's start tonight. We still have to wait a while. There's still one arrangement that hasn't been completed. Zhuoxiao Duo mysteriously took out a small jar from under his bed. Isn't this your puppy piggy bank? Zhuoxiaonian said in surprise. You're still keeping it after so many years? Zhuoxiao Duo rolled his eyes and said, I still have money in here. He shook it and made a clattering sound. There were obviously a lot of coins in it. Zhuoxiaonian was speechless. This miser, the piggy bank that he used when he was 5 or 6 years old, still hadn't been used. Sister Nian Nian, drip 3 drops of blood from your middle finger into it, Zhuoxiao Duo said. Zhuoxiaonian did as he said. Yes, now it's really ready. Zhuoxiao Duo shook it hard. The coins inside were stained with blood. Of course, there were too few drops of blood, so it couldn't be stained too much. Zhuoxiao Duo shook it hard for 3 to 4 minutes before stopping. He said with some regret, originally, Sister Nian Nian is the bearer of the Phoenix bloodline. If you use the bearer of the dragon bloodline to set up this array, it would be the best. But where can we find the bearer of the dragon bloodline now? But it's the same if you use mine. Although the effect is slightly inferior, it will wholeheartedly protect Sister Nian Nian's safety. Its thoughts are more pure and focused. Don't worry about anything. This is enough. Zhuxiaonian felt a little warm in her heart. Just as she was about to praise him, she saw him looking at the piggy bank with a pained expression. Sister Nian Nian, there's a lot of money in here. Can you give me a few new $100 bills as compensation? Zhuxiaonian was exasperated. Get lost. Okay. Mr. Mu, please. Place one of the money in this jar at the top of Meng's headquarters. Be careful not to let anyone discover it. The other one should be placed in the ancestral grave of the Ning family. It would be best to place it under the tombstone of the old ancestor. Still, be careful not to let anyone discover it. The third one is placed in the man-made lake of the Ning family, and the fourth one is placed in the man-made lake of the Meng Corporation. Make sure you're at the center of the lake. If possible, it's best to go straight into the mud. As for this jar, Sister Nian, you can hold it. Follow the order of Xishan Lingzhu Lake and Xishan Lingzhu Lake. Place a coin in each of them. The order must not be wrong. Lastly, put the jar and the money in it under your bed. Don't touch it again. Zhuxiao Duo giggled. Sister Nian Nian, wait for your little brother to change your fate. Just as they were about to split up, Zhuxiao's phone suddenly rang. Zhuxiao Duo took out his phone. Why is Mr. Qin calling at this time? Do you want to confirm the time of the operation? Zhuxiaonian glanced at him discreetly. Dog, did you change your phone? It's been a few days and you didn't notice. 99 astral souls? Dog, you're so extravagant. Hello, Mr. Qin. Zhuxiao Duo picked up the phone. After saying a few words, his expression turned serious. What's wrong? Mu Yanyan and Zhuxiaonian asked at the same time. Just a few hours ago, Qin Fengyang sent Zhuxiao Duo home. Just like yesterday, he strolled along the road, waiting for the upcoming assassination. But to stroll back and forth, Qin Fengyang felt hungry, but the assassination still hadn't come. What's going on? Could it be that the Shen family has gone crazy? If they're really listless, they're not completely hopeless. It's a burden to others and myself. Qin Fengyang was puzzled. He turned and walked in the direction of the Shen group, intending to confirm the situation. After walking a few blocks, a black limousine suddenly stopped at the side of the road in front of him. The door opened and a long leg stepped out of the car. Then a tall and handsome young man stepped out of the car. He was wearing a suit and tie. He was handsome, friendly, and his eyes were bright. He was definitely a handsome man. May I ask if you're Mr. Qin? The young man greeted him warmly and respectfully. His smile was full of sunshine and masculinity, making people have a good impression of him. You are? Qin Fengyang was puzzled. It's normal that Mr. Qin doesn't know me, but I've heard of Mr. Qin's name. The young man smiled and introduced himself. My name is Meng Chuntian, an ordinary person. I don't know if Mr. Qin has heard of me. Qin Fengyang's eyes were cold. Meng Chuntian? You're indeed an ordinary person. I've never heard of you. The young man smiled awkwardly and touched his nose. Mr. Qin, my father is called Meng Tianyue, the Meng group of our Phoenix City. Hee. Meng Tianyue? Qin Fengyang was impatient. Who is that? I've never heard of him. Why? Is he very famous? Very powerful? Qin Fengyang was furious when he heard the name Meng and Ning, let alone the person in question. To mention Meng Tianyue in front of me, I was so angry that I started to burn. This time Meng Chuntian was completely embarrassed. In Phoenix City, who hasn't heard of the Meng group? Who hasn't heard of Meng Tianyue? No matter how ignorant you are, it's impossible to not have heard of the richest man in the city, right? This Qin Fengyang was obviously playing dumb, but why would he play dumb? How did we offend him? Meng Tianyue must be the kind of person who is very rich or very powerful, and most likely very powerful. Qin Fengyang looked at Meng Chuntian from the corner of his eyes. That's why you're so confident? Suddenly stopping the car on the side of the road and walking out like a gentleman. Do you think you're filming a TV show? Meng Chuntian continued to be embarrassed. Qin Fengyang continued with his poisonous tongue. This kind of scene is basically impossible in real life, but it's a famous scene in a TV show where a domineering CEO meets a young lady. And suddenly stopping the car, stepping out of the car with his long legs, and then walking out like a gentleman. A very sunny smile, mature and steady, making the young lady's eyes light up. What, young Master Meng, are you trying to pick me up like a girl? Mr. Qin, this. He ha ha. Meng Chuntian was embarrassed to the extreme, but he laughed again, and his laughter was still very sunny. I didn't expect Mr. Qin to be interested in those soap operas. This really surprised Chuntian, haha. And I'm interested. Do you have a problem with that? Qin Fengyang's eyes were deep, and he was still aggressive. This kid, he can really endure. Let's see how long he can endure. She really wanted to punch a hole right through his face. Ah. No problem, no problem. Indeed, Chuntian's actions are frivolous. I hope Mr. Qin can be magnanimous and forgive me. But in between words, Meng Chuntian quickly adjusted his mood and smiled calmly. Mr. Qin, you've worked hard these 2 days. 1 against 10,000, madly fighting the phoenix's tail, killing until the corpses piled up like a mountain, and blood flowed like a river. It's really majestic and murderous. We're all in awe of you, Mr. Qin. He smiled bitterly. I just didn't expect that I would encounter Teacher Qin's baleful aura that hasn't dissipated in time. Ha ha. Teacher Qin, you really scared me to the point where my heart almost stopped. Qin Fengyang narrowed his eyes. Your heart stopped? Do you want me to touch it? Cough cough cough. Meng Chuntian smiled bitterly. Mr. Qin, please spare my life. With my small body I don't dare to let you touch it. If you touch it, the entire Phoenix Tail Mountain will be gone. After being ridiculed repeatedly, he could still joke. Meng Chuntian's psychological quality was really good. Even if Qin Fengyang knew that the person in front of him was not a good person, he still could not help but admire him. This kid, his interpersonal skills were really amazing. Even though he was being sarcastic, this brat didn't take it seriously at all. Instead, he dealt with it in a natural and unrestrained manner. His self-restraint and ability to adapt to the situation were not something an ordinary person could compare to. Mr. Qin instinctively thought, if Zuo Duo encountered such difficulties, what would he do? Would he do better than Meng Chuntian? Just thinking about it, Qin Fengyang could not help but shake his head. Zuo Duo might have other ways to deal with it, but to maintain such a good demeanor from beginning to end, he would never be able to do it. What he could do would most likely make Qin Fengyang angry. You're looking for me? Qin Fengyang no longer made things difficult and his tone became flat and official. I'm just a junior. Even if I had something to ask, I wouldn't dare to look for you at this time. Meng Chuntian smiled intimately. It's my father and Uncle Ning Suifeng of the Ning family, who sent me to invite Uncle Qin for a chat. He said apologetically, before I came, my father asked me to apologize to Uncle Qin. He should have come personally to invite you, but he was afraid that Uncle Qin would feel that it was too presumptuous. So, he let me come first to sound out Uncle Qin's mind. Qin Fengyang had only asked a question, but Meng Chuntian had taken advantage of it and called him uncle. Their relationship had become even closer. Qin Fengyang frowned. What if I don't plan to go? My father said that as long as Uncle Qin is not too angry, he will come personally to invite you. Meng Chuntian said with a face full of reverence. Qin Fengyang was silent for a moment. Let's go. Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng were looking for him? What did they want to do? What could they do? Or rather, what would they dare to do? Qin Fengyang was also very curious about the above question. Chapter 170. They got into the car. Meng Chuntian did not say much. He only tried to talk about a few topics. Seeing that Qin Fengyang was not interested, he stopped immediately and did not beat around the bush. Speaking of which, Second High has produced a lot of talented students in recent years. Meng Chuntian said. It's said that. Qin Fengyang closed his eyes and said, did your father send you here to chat with me? Meng Chuntian quickly shut up and said, Uncle Qin, you should rest first. I'll call you when we arrive. With my cultivation, do I need you to call me when I'm not here? Are you saying that you look down on me? Qin Fengyang was obviously looking for trouble with him. Meng Chuntian obediently shut up and did not say anything else. His social skills had never failed him, but in front of Qin Fengyang, he was like a tiger trying to eat the sky. No matter what strategy he used, Qin Fengyang would always talk back. This made Meng Chuntian feel uncomfortable, but there was nothing he could do. He could only sit in the car with his head lowered and his brows furrowed. Our Meng Corporation has always had a good relationship with Second High, and we have a deep relationship with the old principal. Why is Qin Fengyang acting like this? What is the problem? What is the problem? Meng Qiantian did not think that Qin Fengyang's personality was like this. In fact, after Qin Fengyang had shown his shocking strength, Meng Corporation had investigated Qin Fengyang's background. At the very least, they had investigated Qin Fengyang's decades of teaching experience in Second High. Meng Qiantian felt that he knew teacher Qin very well. There must be a reason why Qin Fengyang would say such cold words, be unreasonable, and even be hostile to him. Therefore, there was a 99% chance that there was something he could not do that left a bad impression on this almighty. Meng Qiantian would naturally look for the reason from Meng Corporation. However, after a week of thinking, he could not find anything wrong. He could not help but feel more and more puzzled. The car soon arrived at Meng Corporation's headquarters. At night, the Meng Corporation was still brightly lit with neon lights. Meng Qiantian jumped out of the car and ran to open the door for Qin Fengyang. He even covered his head with his hands and smiled. Uncle Qin, we're here. Lead the way. Under Meng Qiantian's lead, Qin Fengyang entered the Meng Corporation's headquarters and took the elevator to the 108th floor. Although it was very high, it only took them a few seconds to reach the top. On the left side of the elevator that led to the CEO's office from the 108th floor, there were already two people standing there with smiles on their faces. One of them was dressed in a traditional Chinese robe. His face was round and he looked like a rich man. The other person was also dressed in a long robe, but it was green. His body was thin and his face was emaciated. His long hair was draped over his back. He was dressed like an ancient person and his hair was fixed with a jade hairpin. The two of them looked to be in their 30s or 40s, which was about the same age as Qin Fengyang. Teacher Qin, we are honored by your presence. Please forgive us for not coming out to meet you. The two of them smiled and cupped their hands together. Sure. I am Meng Tianyue. This is Ning family's patriarch, Ning Suifeng, big brother Ning. The slightly fatter one was naturally the CEO of Meng Group, the richest man in Phoenix City, Meng Tianyue. The other one was thinner and had a faint fierce aura. He was the patriarch of Phoenix City's #1 martial arts family, Ning Suifeng. He was also Ning Qingqing's biological father. I have long heard of your name. One should be treated according to one's status. At the very least, Qin Fengyang could only say, I have long heard of your name. This had nothing to do with anything else. It was purely the status that the other party had worked hard for his entire life. The process of this hard work was extremely difficult, so it was worthy of the greeting. Teacher Qin, this way please. We have taken the liberty to invite you this time. I hope that Teacher Qin will not take offense. Meng Tianyue bowed. All right. Qin Fengyang strode forward. As far as the eye could see, it was a huge office. As far as the eye could see, it was a dazzling sight, brightly lit, and the furnishings inside were at least a size larger than usual. Even so, the decorations in the entire room were still very harmonious. There were a few pots of green plants, lush and exuding a strong vitality. A wisp of sandalwood rose in spirals and slowly floated out from the crane's beak. Qin Fengyang sat down on the sofa in the guest seat and said faintly, Chairman Meng and Master Ning are both busy people. I wonder what advice you have for suddenly summoning me, Qin Fengyang? Qin Fengyang squinted his eyes. I am a straightforward person. Why don't we get straight to the point? I feel that I should not have any interaction with the two of you. Meng Tianyue laughed loudly. Teacher Qin, you have concealed your identity in Phoenix City for 28 years. Now that you have shocked the world and revealed your true appearance, you have killed so many people that they are scared out of their wits. We cannot meet such an expert, so how can we not come to pay our respects? Ha ha ha. Ning Suifeng laughed and said, Teacher Qin, you really do not reveal your true appearance. If not for the battle last night, we would be blind. How could we not know that such a small place like Phoenix City actually hid such a fierce dragon like Teacher Qin for such a long time? Really, sorry for the disrespect, sorry for the disrespect, sorry for the disrespect. The two of them smiled as they spoke, full of flattery. At this moment, a few beautiful girls in white quietly came in with teacups. Instantly, the 1,000-square-meter office was filled with the elegant fragrance of tea. Please have some tea, Meng Tianyue said. This is the top-grade ancient star moon tree tea that Patriarch Ning gave me last time. I have always been reluctant to drink it. Haha, since Teacher Qin is here today, I will accompany Teacher Qin to taste this top-grade tea. Ning Suifeng laughed and scolded. Look at you pretending to be poor. If you are really happy drinking it, I will ask someone to send it to you later. At the same time, I will also give Teacher Qin a few caddies of this coarse tea. It is really not worthy of respect. Qin Fengyang picked up the teacup and drank, saying lightly, "This is not worthy of respect." Looking at the entire Yanwu Empire, the total annual production of this coarse tea is not even 50 caddies. It seems that it has been raised to 1,000,000 star yuan per caddy. I am just an ordinary teacher. How can I afford to drink such expensive tea? Ning Suifeng laughed loudly. Just based on the name Qin Fengyang, you are already worthy of any top-grade treatment in this world. Brother Qin, your words are too modest. The two wily old foxes accompanied Qin Fengyang, talking about all sorts of things. Soon the atmosphere was in full swing. Although Qin Fengyang did not say much, the continuous flattery between the two of them did not make one feel disgusted. After chatting for a while, Qin Fengyang finally became impatient. Chief Meng, can we talk about serious matters now? The two of you may be free today, but I, Qin Fengyang, do not have so much free time. Meng Tianyue laughed loudly. I did not expect Teacher Qin to be so impatient. After saying that, she clapped her hands and shouted, "Bring it up." As soon as he finished speaking, a total of 98 white-clothed girls walked out in 2 rows. Each of them held a sandalwood box in their hands. They didn't stop until they were in front of Qin Fengyang. Another 10 black-clothed girls walked in with 5 black tables and quietly put them down. Then, the group of girls in white placed the 98 sandalwood boxes neatly on the tables. What is this? Qin Fengyang smelled the faint smell of blood. He already had a guess in his heart, but he still asked. A few days ago, these people offended Brother Qin. After knowing that Brother Qin's strength was tyrannical and difficult to defeat, they went crazy and set fire to Fengwei Mountain, destroying the ecology. Meng Tianyue smiled. Now they are all here. He clapped his hands and said, "Open the boxes." The 98 girls in white opened the sandalwood boxes in front of them in unison. Inside the boxes there were 98 human heads, neatly arranged in front of Qin Fengyang. And who else could it be if not Shen Yushu in the first place? How did so many people die? Qin Fengyang's pupils shrank. The majority of the 98 corpses here are from the Chun family. That Chun Yushu was a womanizer by nature. Other than his wife and children from the main family, there are also his mistresses and illegitimate children, a total of 59 people. Meng Tianyue said, in short, everyone in the Shen family is here. I can guarantee that none of Shen Yushu's bloodline is left out, and is still alive in this world. And the other 39 people are from the 2 families that shared the bounty with Shen Yushu. Their entire families, old and young, are all here. As for the other 3 families, although they talked big, but they did not participate in the operation. We are not people who like to kill. Ning Suifeng continued. Of course, we all know that Teacher Qin is not a cruel person, and has a large amount of tolerance, so we did not kill again. Meng Tianyue laughed. But if Teacher Qin upholds the principle of killing and not stopping until death, it is only a matter of a sentence to get rid of the other 3 families. The other 3 families are still under surveillance, and it is all up to Brother Qin to decide. Qin Fengyang was silent for a while. A total of 98 people. To be honest, Qin Fengyang did not intend to let people like Shen Yushu go. A bounty of 1 billion yuan, and because of this, thousands of martial artists with good cultivation were killed. This enmity was too big. Qin Fengyang was not the kind of person who was soft-hearted, and he was not the kind of person who would repay evil with good. Under the years of killing, he had already trained a resolute heart to kill. But, other than Shen Yushu, Qin Fengyang did not intend to touch the others at all. Speaking of wiping out 3 families at once, this method was really too cruel, and it was simply crazy. Ning Suifeng sighed softly, and said, I know Teacher Qin must not be able to bear it, and think that it is not to this extent. But, this is really a helpless action.